for me to fix this. Do what? Sure. I mean, I can see exactly what's wrong. It says it's on video 2 in the upper left-hand corner.
Okay.
But when I go to change the input, it won't up or down me here.
Press here. Sometimes pressing the input button is what cycles through each. Yep.
Oh. Oh, so it's just input. There's no up or down.
Correct.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
How's your Thanksgiving?
That was good. How about you? Oh, you get to go home.
Can't complain. Wait, did you get it or no?
No, and now it won't let me change channels. It's stuck on 34 and it's not showing anything. Who had on 34? That's...
You're in the correct input, right? The one you want to be in?
I'm on TV for sure. It's definitely not video 2, because that's a big nothing, no signal. I thought it would be, I mean, it shows me a little channel up in the right corner. The cable box is on, but it's not letting me change channel. It is what it is. I'm over it. Yeah. Oh, did I make money last night? I did not make money last night.
It's tough.
First time in a while. Are there any Ogeron post-game cuts in either Muso's folder or Muso's folder? No.
As of right now, it's just O cuts from week 6. Pretty sure it's Friday. There's no.
Yeah. Oh, good. Don't worry about it.
You're gonna want the.
Check Mario's folder.
You want to have Blair cut the final call for LSU versus Clemson?
Yeah.
When do you want that?
It's gonna be in the open segment. I'll call for it. Oh, I left my water down. I'll get it later. This is gonna be friggin' infuriating this morning. As soon as Bo comes in, I'm gonna flag him down. It's not enough to call him over, but
It's gonna be from Coach O show, AFR, or
for Mario,
yeah.
off the bench. Okay, no biggie. 606, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Good morning, everybody. Brian here with you, Jake producing. We call it Mornings with Brian Haldane, and we are off and running this week after Thanksgiving. Oh, man, does it feel weird getting back at it? If you had off Thursday and Friday, does it feel weird getting back at it a little bit? It was nice, though. A little recharge right there. Not a full-on vacation, but at least a nice little chance to recharge the batteries, as it were. Sharpen the blade. By the way, this is going to be another short week for me. I'm going to be out on Thursday and Friday. But that's neither here nor there. We've got a big show to get to. We got 3 big shows to get to before that comes around. So let's go ahead and give you today's rundown. Richard Condon's going to hop on board at 6:35. Now, the whole reason we do this segment with Condon, I'm not supposed to know what we're talking about, but I can't imagine we'll be talking about anything but Ed Ogeron. Maybe something else pops up, maybe not, I don't know, but that's where I'm guessing that segment's going. 6:50, Nathan Custer from Fema is going to hop on board. Today is the deadline. If you have Hurricane Ida damage and have to file a FEMA claim, get it done. Nathan Custer at 6:50. We'll call it Custer's Last Stand, I guess. No, that was bad. Forget I even said that. In our 7 o'clock hour, we're going to talk lung cancer in our Medical Monday segment with Dr. Emily Cassidy from Our Lady of the Lake. Stephen Wagesback from LABI is going to hop on board at 7:35 to talk all things business. In our 8 o'clock hour, going to catch up with Dr. Greg Upton from LSU. Dr. Upton, I wanted to get to him last week, but with the shortened week, we didn't have a chance to. Here's where we're going with this. President Joe Biden has tapped into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. We all had a Thanksgiving holiday. Did anybody notice? Last Wednesday and then yesterday, the 2 busiest travel days of the year on the calendar. Did anybody see relief at the pump as a result of tapping into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve? I know I didn't. But hey, maybe I'm alone. Maybe I don't know. That, we're going to talk a ton about the next LSU head coach. In fact, you know what? Let's go ahead and start there. It feels weird. The Ed Ogeron era is over with. Coach O, former Coach O, already in Destin, Florida. I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't have a tracker on him. But he said after the game that is where he's headed. Ed Ogeron is out at LSU. He will not be coaching the bowl game. We'll have more on that in a couple segments from now. But it's weird to just rewind the clock because this right here happened less than 2 years ago.
LSU will snap it one more time. 32 seconds. Joe Burrow again. The snap, the knee, and the Tigers of LSU. A team of destiny and a team for ages. Celebrate on the field here tonight in New Orleans inside the Superdome, capturing the national title and snapping a 29-game win streak for Dabo Swinney and Clemson.
Chris Blair on the LSU Sports Radio Network on the call. It's hard to believe that was less than 2 years ago. I mean, it was a couple weeks after that we started to learn about COVID-19. For the amount of time that we've had the pandemic, that's how long ago that was. And he's gone. We had a pandemic year, conference-only schedule, where LSU went 5-5, with multiple opt-outs, a complete turnover in coaching staff, and a complete overhaul on the field as well. And no, rental wins to beat up on, 5-5. And then this year, 6-6, and it's over with. Now we turn our eyes towards who's next. Who will be the next head coach? Well, it's not going to be Billy Napier. He's the new head coach of Florida. And honestly, didn't really want him. You don't turn to your little brother to pick up your fights for you. And that's what we were looking at in going to grab a coach from ULL. I know it sounds weird. Napier's eminently qualified. But at the end of the day, you don't turn to your little brother to pick up your fights for you. It's not going to be Lincoln Riley. That's disappointing. And if you bounce around Twitter, everybody has the answer, and yet nobody has the answer. So where are we with it? Well, that'll unfold as the day wears on. And I'm guessing. I'm just guessing. We'll all know. I don't know, before Wednesday? Guessing? Guessing? Can't say that word enough, can I? Guessing, because we're all guessing. Be on the lookout today. Be wary of it today. Everyone's got sources. Everyone's in the know. But nobody's in the know. We're all guessing. Anyway, that's going to take us up to our first break. When we come back, let's talk some actual sports. LSU did take care of business on the field Saturday night. 27-24 in just ridiculous fashion over Texas A&M. Hey, how about bringing in Jimbo Fisher? How about Jimbo Fisher as the next head coach? Would that be a good idea? A guy who went 2-4 against a guy who was just fired. We'll break it down in just a little bit. We do have to take a quick break though, but we do have some highlights for the game from the game after the break. Before we take that break though, got to tell you about the folks over at Complete Collision Center. They've got 2 locations. Plank Road and Zachary is the bigger footprint, the north location as it were. And then there's Perkins Road, just east of Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge. Let me give you their phone number so you can put it in your phone. 768-9898. 225-768-9898. It's important to know where you're taking your car even before you get into an accident. You don't want to leave this up to the guy driving the tow truck. You don't want to call your insurance company first. You want to call 768-9898 first. Call your insurance company after that. But know where you're going first. And the place to take your car is the place that has the certifications of more than a dozen major manufacturers. The people who make the cars say Doug and his team at Complete Collision Center, they know how to get you back on the road and back onto the road safely. They've also got the iCar Gold Class certification that puts them in the top 15% of body shops nationwide. 768-9898, CompleteCollision.com. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check out CompleteCollision.com. You got the highlights from the game? They were, yeah. The second, what's his butt? Scored the winning touchdown. I want the winning touchdown in the final call. Oh, wait. Yes, Jeray Jenkins. That's out of date. Do what? Let me see what else was in there. Yeah, that'll do. And 2.3, Trey Palmer. If there was something completely overriding, it would be something else, but I'm not.
Both cuts are about the first 2 are about 40 seconds a pop.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Hey! Good morning, Christy. Welcome in, sweetheart.
You're gonna have him at 32-46.
Okay.
No, you're not. The rest of the world has just slipped a gear. Join us weeknights at 6 on Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk.
Just the Jeray Jenkins in the final call. That's it. 617 Talk 1073 FM WBRP. LSU does take care of business on the field Saturday night with a 27-24 victory over Texas A&M. If you were watching on TV and missed the radio call, here is how the winning touchdown sounded, courtesy of Chris Blair.
A&M bringing up the backers near the line. Here's the snap to Johnson. Here comes the blitz. Throws it one-on-one, looking downfield. Caught! Jeray Jenkins at the 6! Into the end zone! Touchdown! Fighting Tigers! He took the right pylon with him. With 20 seconds remaining in the game, A&M brought the house. Jenkins caught it around the 6. Rambles in. Jalen Jones was on coverage, but a perfect throw by Max Johnson on the run. It is 26-24, Fighting Tigers of LSU with 20 seconds remaining.
And, of course, the extra point was good. How about Max Johnson on the night? I mean, he has not been the best throughout this year, but 22 of 38, 306 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Ty Davis-Price went over 1,000 yards on the season as well. He had, 84 yards on the ground? And just a huge night for Jeray Jenkins. 169 yards on 8 receptions. Interestingly enough, Jack Besh, only 1 catch on the night. Wasn't targeted until the fourth quarter. Tigers will go into a bowl. Oh, you know what? No, we don't have time. Tigers will go into a bowl game. We don't know which one yet, but we do know who will be the interim coach for that bowl game. We're going to break that down next. We got to check your money now. We'll check traffic again. Then when we come back, we will check on where LSU is headed. Not necessarily where, just the fact that they are headed somewhere. And who will be at the helm now that Ed Ogeron no longer is. Here comes your money now on Talk 107.3. Fox Business Report.
Had a few days off.
Oh. Yeah. I feel like I need to puke.
Do you want to do the final call this next segment or no?
Yeah.
final cut or the final call on the three cuts that you wanted me to use?
Yeah. Wait, say again? The final call and then the 3 LRN cuts. Yeah.
Welcome back from Christian. We know it's been tough. Because rebuilding your business isn't your business needs a jump start. And we're here to help. Introducing Surge, symmetrical speed fiber internet for retail business. Ramped up data speeds at 30% off, plus 3 months free. We're glad you're back. And we're here to make your business surge. Detail business. Offer valid on 3-year contract for Curable Business Services.
Hey, it is Anna for Core by UFC Gym, located in Sherwood and Corsi. The holidays are here. It is that time we start eating more, gathering with friends and family more. Completely understandable. Go ahead, burn those calories and stay healthy. Core by UFC Gym. Once you're a member, you get unlimited classes, access to the full gym. They've got the music blaring, very family friendly as well. Yes, they do have kids classes, all ages, all demographics, all athletic ability. Train different. Even if you're already at a gym, try UFC and get a different type of workout. Core by UFC.
More than 1 in 3 people will face cancer in their lifetime. Unfortunately, fear can stop you from getting your cancer screening, but it won't stop cancer. Early detection can save your life. Don't wait for symptoms to appear to act. Cancer screening is safe, effective, and accessible for everyone, including free or low-cost screening programs. Go to cancerscreeninfo.com right now for free screening resources and recommendations from the American Cancer Society. Don't wait. Early detection can save your life. Go to cancerscreeninfo.com today. Cancerscreeninfo.com.
So the dream was to build your very own law practice. Be your own boss, call all the shots. But have things like billing, HR, timekeeping, and all the other management stuff turn your dream into a nightmare? Take charge of your practice with Lexicon. We're the intersection of practice management software and legal support services for your firm. You'll get more billable and livable hours back. Lexicon marks the spot for all your practice management needs. Visit lexiconservices.com/intersection to get the whole story or schedule a demo.
Now, your WBRZ traffic update from Ashley Fouché.
Right now, travel looks just fine as we get back to the swing of things after the holiday weekend. Currently, no crashes, no breakdowns, or problem spots out there. Something I'd like for you to know about, though, we're kind of previewed this last week. The Bob Credit Petty Bridge is actually going to close between Nicholson and Allen Dark. That can't get into Tigerland. Well, instead, you're going to have to go the back way via the right side to Allen Dark because that bridge will be closed for Saturday. Currently, WC's coming in for dead of night. Split. If you hop on the interstate around Woodville and Millerville, looking good.
See an accident? Report it at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter. Report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $170 with the purchase of 4 eligible Michelin tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
624 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Sticking with the theme with LSU football, as I'm sure that's going to be pretty regular throughout the morning. We're going to get into the next phase, which is the bowl game, in just a minute. But as time ticked off the clock Saturday night, this is how it sounded as LSU pulled off the victory with the final call by Chris Blair.
As the ball is placed at the A&M 20-yard line. 3 receivers left, 1 to the right. A-Chain back to block for Calzada, in trouble. Calzada steps up, rolls to his left, slips and falls at the 14-yard line. Tigers win! Tigers win! 27-24. Fourth quarter come from behind victory to send Ed Ogeron out a winner here at LSU.
And that would be the conclusion of the Ogeron era. So, what's next? Ogeron's in Destin, no longer the head coach. He does say, or he said in the post-game, offensive line coach Brad Davis is going to serve as the interim head coach.
You know, I'm not going to sit here and coach when there's another guy coming in and be the head coach next week or the week after. I'm not going to do that. This is my team, and as soon as they get a new head coach, I was going to go. And but the administration, Stephanie's in here, Scott's in here. They've been great to me. We decided on this, and I mutually agree with everything. And I wish our guys the best. So I hope they go to a great bowl.
Great bowl would be a stretch for a 6-6 team, to say the least. undetermined as of this point, but bowl eligible. On the table for possible bowl games would be the Liberty Bowl, and that would be a heck of a game, or a heck of a trip, I should say. Memphis is fantastic. It would be the weekend between Christmas and New Year. It would be everything about as ideal as you can get for a 6-6 team. You're not in line for anything really beyond that. So you'd have to be looking at: do you want Memphis? Do you want Shreveport? There's just not a lot of pickings to go around. By the way, offense finally came through in a close contest. Max Johnson, like we said last segment, we had the highlight hitting Jure Jenkins from what he caught the ball with 6 yards out and took out the pylon, as Chris Blair said. Ogeron, talking about the offense, says he's proud of the job they did.
I really am happy because, there's some dissension going on in the locker room and stuff like that, and guys were getting pissed, and I didn't blame them, stuff like that, and I told them, hey, put it on me. But again, they came up with a big play tonight at the end when our defense really needed them to make the big play. And so I think that you got a happy group in that locker room, and just happy for them.
It's a little glimpse behind the curtain there, and that's one thing Ed Ogeron has been throughout his tenure, is a little bit too honest about what's going on within the program. As far as, like you said, a little dissension going on, and that's to be expected. I mean, it was October 17th when it was announced he would no longer return, or would not be returning for next year. That's one heck of a stretch, a month and a week, to go with a lame duck head coach. You're going to have infighting. You're going to have a little bit of dissension. It's actually, when you look back on it, kind of remarkable that they were able to keep battling despite they had more injuries. You had more guys, in the training room and or just out. You took close losses to Bama, which would be disheartening, and then Arkansas, which would be just take all the wind out of your sail. Then you finish the regular season out with ULM. Okay, super duper, wonderful. You beat an in-state school. The Texas A&M win is a real boost heading out of the season. Ogeron says the players have just been great during this. In spite of the few guys getting pissed in the dissension, they've been great throughout the transition period. Jake?
They, just kept on fighting, just kept on practicing. The guys kept on being early to meetings, kept on working. Nobody ever blinked. Next guy stood up. There was no bitching, whining, or moaning about nothing. Our guys kept on fighting together. And some good's bound to happen when you do that.
Now all the questions begin. I have no doubt our sister station 104.5 ESPN is going to be a busy one today and throughout the week, as if they weren't throughout football season. But the way things transpired yesterday with Lincoln Riley accepting the USC job, it just throws everything up in the air at that point. So where does LSU head from there? We'll pick it back up. Condon will be with me in the next segment. I'm sure he's got some takes. It's going to open up a lot more questions, though. It's going to take us all the way back to, remember the Title IX investigation, the sexual assault allegations? How much of that's going to come up? Like, how much of that is just lingering under the surface right now? Is that playing into coaches' decisions? Or is this just a matter of the lure of Southern California was too much? Got that and a whole lot more coming your way. Hey, good. Check news in just a second. Got to remind you, though, Talk 107.3 is giving you a chance to enjoy a true Louisiana staycation on us at either the Renaissance or Watermark hotels. Simply take our staycation survey at talk1073.com. You will be instantly registered for one of 2 staycations every month. We draw 2 winners a month. One on this show, one on the Jada Cody show. Danielle Parrish won our October stay at the Watermark. Dane DeLatte won our stay at the Renaissance. You can as well by registering at talk1073.com. Byron, good morning, Galen. Good morning, Clinton. It was funny last night to see Tiger droppings melt when Riley took the USC job. I bet. Galen says Dave Aranda. I'm still thinking Mark Stoops, but
How many names have we heard at some point being linked with the job?
about a dozen.
I'm starting to lose track. And while this is a big decision for us, I'm not really putting too much heart into any of the options until I see pen to paper.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole. That was the whole point of my opening segment.
Yeah.
Everybody knows something, but nobody knows anything.
I don't know. I can't get caught up in the possibility of getting a coach when they're not even close to signing with us or leaving.
Covington State Representative Mark Wright was recently named the new chairman of the House Transportation Committee. He takes over the panel at a time when the state is set to receive just over $7 billion from President Joe Biden's infrastructure bill. It remains to be seen where all of the money will go. As Wright understands it, there are three pots of money that will help address roads, bridges, and even the state's ports. The loss of smell from COVID for 6 months or longer is a growing public health concern. Dr. Kevin McLaughlin, ear, nose, and throat surgeon,
I'll be back in a second.
Now, your WBRZ traffic updates from Ashley Fouché. See an accident? Report it at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter.
This report is brought to you by Shawbells, where you can get up to $170 with the purchase of 4 eligible Michelin tires. Visit ShawbellsTire.com to learn more.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating,
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
so I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or API, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
There's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, "Could I have EPI?"
Sponsored by AbbVie.
Gotcha. Morning, Rich. How are you? I just threw up.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing worse, man.
I feel that so far so good.
You came in like that?
What am I do? Like I can't. You know. Oh. 637 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Every Monday at about this time, we welcome in Richard Condon from Eagle 98.1's Condon Uncensored. Rich, what's
Good
happening,
morning.
brother? How are you?
Thanksgiving good?
Oh,
Hope
Thanksgiving-
everybody had a great Thanksgiving.
Fantastic for Thanksgiving. Got to enjoy, a ton of turkey, a little crawfish and cornbread stuffing. The works.
Kind
How
of went
about
out
yours?
South Louisiana with the etouffee,
Yeah.
crawfish etouffee, shrimp stew.
Okay.
Even had seared tuna for the very first time. Very good.
You've never had seared tuna before?
No, because it always brought up bad smells, bad memories of my grandpa putting Star Kiss on a cracker.
Okay.
And I just remember smelling that, and that's always my impression of tuna.
Okay.
Until somebody cooks it right and says, just try a bite.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, there's a big
Seared
difference.
tuna.
Big difference between what's in a can and what's fresh.
But it was all good. Oh, I need to stress, I went to the Saints-Buffalo game
Oh,
on
I'm
Thanksgiving.
sorry.
No. My son was in from Chicago.
Okay.
We bought the tickets a long time ago before the Saints were totally decimated by injuries.
Yeah.
Or players with attitudes, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I want to apologize if I offended over the years anybody from the state of Arkansas about being physically challenged as far as attractiveness,
Why is that?
because Buffalo fans take it.
Oh,
Oh, my God.
Rich, have you seen how these people tailgate?
Unbelievable.
Have you seen how they tailgate?
But at least you can have a little complexion
Oh, no.
to your unattractiveness.
No, it's...
Pale white.
Oh, come on. It's
Brutal.
It's below freezing 300 days out of the year up
Bunch
there,
of
man.
400-pound people wearing hard hats. And let me tell you, when they get a seat at walk-on, say two,
yeah.
they're not getting up.
No, they're not getting
And
up.
they're not just sitting there ordering another lemon and water and watching TV either.
Oh, no. No.
Play.
So they go hard when they tailgate, and they jump through their tailgating tables. They, dive on their tables like a wrestler going off the top rope.
You know, everybody says everywhere in this country's different. Yeah, we are different, but we're different in a positive way.
Right.
A little personality, a lot more honest, a little bit giving, helping more.
Yeah.
It's a whole different world out there.
Yeah.
Now, Big, let me say this. I know a lot of people are disappointed about Lincoln Riley going to USC. I'm not disappointed. A lot of guys made off well with, contract extensions, Franklin, Mel
Oh, yeah.
Tucker. I mean, those guys made off well. Mm-hmm. But until Scott Woodward proves that he can hire the best, I'm going to give that man every benefit of the doubt.
Oh, me too.
And I could sit here and go, well, if it's Matt Rule at North Carolina, who used to be at Baylor, well, what if it's the guy I wanted from the get-go, Luke Fickell? What if it's just him? But he's in the American Conference Championship game on Saturday.
Right.
Dave Aranda, same thing, in a Big 12 Championship game on Saturday.
Right.
So it's not like LSU lost all the good people. People are stressing out. When he can bring in Kel Mulkey the day after Vargas is gone,
Yeah.
when he can get Chris Peterson, who turned down all kinds of jobs over the years, to go to Washington from Boise,
Yeah.
when he can get Jimbo to go from Florida State to Texas A&M,
Right.
I mean, that guy has done an unbelievable job. His timing is always good. Nothing gets out of his closet.
Right.
He's a pro. He keeps everything good on a low level to represent whoever he's going to hire, to represent the university and not embarrass itself. So I have no concerns whenever that day comes. And I understand with the early signing period in December, Tiger fans want to make sure they don't lose recruits like Oklahoma did. But whoever they hire, those guys that, while I'm decommitting and I want to open it up again, they're going to just recommit to LSU.
Well-
They're just sitting there to see what the athletic director does.
And even if they don't, big whoop. Big whoop. I mean, how much of this the recruiting class from 3 years ago was on the field last Saturday?
Look, I've seen what Lincoln Riley did, Big 12 regular season. His team don't play well in a postseason. And look, you know why he's going to USC. It's not about the money. LSU could match USC with the money. It has nothing to do with that. It ain't because they got better athletes in California. Louisiana, you have no competition here.
Right.
Oregon comes in there. UCLA, even though Chip Kelly's in his fourth year, I mean, UCLA is done now. With Lincoln Riley at USC. But have you ever seen the Coliseum for a Saturday afternoon game? And USC could be taking on Notre Dame.
Yeah.
You may have 25,000, 30,000 people there. So it's all about less competition week in and week out. He knew what LSU did against his team.
Okay.
You only got to worry about Oregon and maybe Chip Kelly's team if your team doesn't show up. It's so much easier in the Pac-12
Right.
to make a run in the postseason and then get into the 14 playoff than it would ever be in the SEC.
Especially when you consider whether even if he was at Oklahoma, they're moving into the SEC. The level of competition is like playing a championship round before even being able to get to a championship round.
You know, with USC in the Big 12, you got maybe 2 games all year
Yeah.
that you got to worry about. Maybe
Yeah.
a team, if they plan well, you don't play well that day, they can beat you. Mm-hmm. In the Pac-12, same thing. You're going to win every game.
Right.
I mean, who's going to beat you out there? Cal?
No.
I mean, there's nobody out there. Oregon State, it's only Oregon and maybe UCLA.
Oregon State
and you
looked
got
pretty
Notre
good
Dame in
Saturday.
another conference game. So there's less. You got less bumps in the road at a USC to be able to move on, get into the postseason, and do well.
Now, back to Woodward for just a second. You're making a good point about the hires that he's made along the way. And it's also important to note that throughout all the rumor mill that went down yesterday, did they ever offer Lincoln Riley, or was it just rumored that they were offering
No,
Lincoln?
it's 'cause
Because I don't
everybody-
think an offer was made.
No, everybody, well, there was speculation that they offered him a $96 million 8-year deal.
Okay.
But that was just speculation. But, I mean,
Right.
all of these people now with social media, everybody wants to scoop everybody else on Instagram and Twitter.
I'm the first one to. I don't know. I don't know.
And the thing about it, you can do that 20 times. If you get one right, people think you're an inside guy.
Right.
You got scoop. You're in the know.
Right.
And some of these guys that are well-respected constantly want you to forget about all the predictions they made right. But that one, I mean, wrong. But all
Right.
the ones they made right, well, they're going to remind you over and over and over. Now, look, let me tell you, Brian, there were certain things physically people thought they could never get done. Like the 4-minute mile.
Yeah.
I remember Jesse Owens, 9 in 36 in Berlin, but in 35 when he was at Ohio State, broke 3 track world records in a 1-hour period. What do you think of that?
That's pretty impressive.
No, Miracle on Ice. I could go down the list, okay?
Okay.
Matter of fact, that there's one guy who ran 350 miles without stop running. How you like that?
That's crazy.
350 miles.
Why?
What I'm saying is to all the young people out there, realize when you set your goals and you commit yourself and you work hard, anything is possible. How many times, Brian, you get up, what you're doing, and seeing something going on, thinking, I never thought I'd live long enough to see this day.
Right.
And we seem to say that over and over the more older we get, all right? Anytime a Caucasian place kicker can be the MVP of the Bayou Classic, now that'll tell you everything out there is possible.
Did you
Everything.
watch the Bayou Classic?
I did not.
It's a really good game. You were likely tailgating or getting ready
No,
for.
but just at 4 o'clock. Man, I'm watching Alabama-Auburn. God bless the Bayou Classic, but, I mean, it was on, like, NBC, whatever.
It's on NBC, yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if I get that
That's
on
a
Cox.
really
I
good
don't
game this year.
Understand that. But, look, give me that game maybe last night. I'm probably going to watch it. With all the games going on, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Auburn was at the same time. I mean, it's just an afterthought. I wanted to see who won. Grambling won.
It overlapped the LSU game.
Hey, look,
so.
I got to take a shot at Mayor Broom
Imagine that.
and Mark Cunningham, right? Is that her chief communications person? I think
what?
it's Mark Cunningham. Isn't that the guy's name? A chief communications guy.
Oh, Armstrong.
Armstrong. All right. Not done intentionally. Here's why, babe. How in the world do you post on the mayor's Facebook page you had a good time at the Bayou Classic, right? God bless her. How do you not congratulate Coach O for a win? How do you not congratulate what he did, his team in 2019 for the local economy? You telling me Coach O, going out, a Louisiana guy, coached his last game, LSU won, and you can't say, Coach, thanks for the memories. Coach, thanks how you represented Louisiana State University and the city of Baton Rouge and Louisiana. Now, Mayor Broom has done that previously, okay? Not with LSU, but she's done that previously. But she can't put that on her official Facebook page. A little token, thank you, Coach O. We'll miss you. One of ours came home and won a national title in 2019.
Greatest
Where's
football
that?
season ever.
Where's that at?
I think a lot of folks are going to be very, very leery about saying anything positive about Coach O because remember the whole Title IX investigation? I'm wondering how much of that's going to come back to the forefront now.
But I understand that. But still, you got to thank the man for what he accomplished.
I hear you.
People showed
I
up
hear you.
on Saturday night to thank him
Yes.
and to pay respects, and he was one of our own, and he promoted the Cajun culture, and a lot of the people in the Cajun community felt like finally we're not being made fun of. We being represented on a big stage.
Yeah.
All right, Big, what, 34 years ago today? You know what happened?
What?
Saints beat the Steelers, Riverfront, to lock up their first winning season.
Oh, yeah?
You know? And guess what? They finished 12-3, and they still didn't win their division because you had Montana, you had Jerry Rice, you had Rathman,
yeah.
Ronnie Lott. 49ers went 12. No, they went 14-2 that year.
Who else did 49ers have on the team? Who's this? The number 2 receiver? John Taylor.
John Taylor.
Taylor. He's Richard Condon, Condon Uncensored, right down the hall. I always appreciate you, brother.
Anytime, bud.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Check your money now. Check traffic. Coming back right after this on Talk 107.3. I'll get my live in on the back end. We got FEMA guy coming on. Oh, thanks, man. I'm not, like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one thing to go to work when you're feeling like you do, But it's one thing to get on the air and try to have some energy.
And that's the problem. I can exist just fine. It's the ramping it up for the to have any kind of energy at all.
That's awesome, man.
So
Throwing up is the worst.
yeah. Hopefully I'm good till news. Then I'll have a long enough break to go do it again.
All right, B. I hope you feel better.
Thanks, Rich. Hey, are these yours?
Oh, yeah, I do it every time.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they ever actually offered Riley anything. So, but yeah, look, if he's gonna run. Be scared. You didn't want him at that point. If he's not up for the challenge, then better off. Go just enjoy California. So.
I'll tell you one thing, man. The guy don't look like he doesn't look very personal.
No.
You tell him they send him 650.
Yeah. Talk 107.3 and Citizens Bank and Trust are in the spirit to rock your holidays with $15,000 cash. 15K holidays coming your way. What would you do with an extra 15 grand this holiday season? Well, head to talk1073.com to register to win $15,000 cash powered by Citizens Bank and Trust and Talk 107.3 FM, the new flavor of talk. Going to check your money now and check traffic when we return. Nate Custer from Fema hopping on board with us. Today's the deadline for Ida relief. We're talking about it next. Oh. All right. I haven't even. I gotta hop back in YouTube at some point. Oh. Who do I have, Mathurns? I'll do it on the back end of this. .653 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Ran a little bit long with Rich, which pushed our traffic back behind Your Money Now, which means we're running a couple minutes behind to talk with Nate Custer. And minutes are of the essence this morning and all day today, as today is the last day to register for FEMA relief. Nathan Custer with FEMA joins us now. Good morning, Nate. What's happening?
Good morning, Brian. It won't take me long to tell you this, that this is the final day to register, as you said, for possible FEMA relief from Hurricane Ida, going back to when this catastrophic storm struck in late August. You got to call 800-621-3362 or go online at disasterassistance.gov. If you had any kind of a setback, any kind of an impact to your property from Hurricane Ida, we want to hear from you. We need to know who you are, where you are, and then we can consider on a case-by-case basis some possible federal assistance.
Nate, just for those that have waited till the deadline, or for those that have been debating this whole time whether or not they'd be eligible, who are the folks that are still out there? What kind of damage do they need to be looking at to give y'all a call?
Brian, it can be even very minor damage. There's no minimum threshold of a certain level of damage, and you have to exceed that to get help. From ranging from the minor end of things to the catastrophic. We like to feel that the people that had the catastrophic damage, we've already heard from them, but I can tell you that over the last 30 days, which was the time the deadline had been extended at the governor's request, we've had a flow of people who have still been registering. So it goes to show that 30-day request was a good thing to have happen.
Yeah, it normally is, because the number of folks, because we're kind of used to it when we see a storm roll through. We're used to seeing an extension of deadlines when the storm does roll through. But there's folks that are thinking, maybe I do, maybe I don't. And if they just make the call, they can learn. I mean, the worst that can happen is FEMA can tell you no, if that's the way the case plays out. But I'm guessing, Nate, that as we've moved, we get more and more distance between where we are now and the storm. You're starting to see the calls and applications narrow down geographically to where things were hit the hardest?
That's definitely the case, and I can tell you, Brian, that well over 500,000 applications have been approved, and that means over $1 billion. That's billion with a B dollars is now in the hands of people in these 25 Louisiana parishes impacted by the storm.
Yeah, $1.6 billion and change as of the last time y'all put out official numbers, which I believe was heading into Thanksgiving week. That is already approved, already in the hands. Do we have any idea of, and just rough estimate, ballpark it, do we have any idea of how much is still expected?
We really don't. That's why we just keep the registration open through today, and we want to hear from people who they are, where they are, and what may have happened to them in that awful time back in late August.
If folks are making the call today, if they've waited till the last minute and they're making the call today, what do they need to have on them before actually calling 800-621-3362?
It has to be damage to your principal residence. We need a Social Security number. We need the names of the permanent occupants who share that home with you. We will need a Social Security number. We'll need a bank account so that we can do direct deposit if people have an account for whatever grant they may be received. Every application is a little bit different, and we look closely at each one of those.
Every storm is different. Every emergency is different, and different problems arise. What have been a few of the hot buttons that y'all have had to work through for this one?
The housing situation, people living in vehicles, living in tents, whatever. The governor came in with an innovative program, state sheltering program. It was the governor's opinion and the state officials that they could perhaps move a little quicker gets people into travel trailers than FEMA might be able to. So that's happening on two fronts. We've already had several hundred people have applied to the state and have gotten into travel trailers. The FEMA long-range housing mission is ongoing. It's not exactly something you can do overnight. You've got to have a flood-free location to put a trailer or a manufactured housing unit. You've got to have utilities. You've got to conform with the zoning, and it's just an ongoing process. But the state action has had the effect of speeding it up somewhat and getting people into a trailer or a manufactured housing unit a little sooner than maybe otherwise would have happened.
Got Nate Custer for about 60 more seconds. Nate, if folks are not satisfied by waiting till the last day but want to wait till the exact last minute, what's the drop-dead deadline today?
10 o'clock tonight on the phone line. It's hard to imagine that people would want to play it that close.
I mean,
after having 90 days to register.
You'd be surprised. He is Nate Custer with FEMA. The phone number one more time is 800-621-3362. And what was the website?
DisasterAssistance.gov.
DisasterAssistance.gov. Nate, we appreciate the time and the information throughout, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Brian.
Absolutely. We got CBS News coming your way, the CBS World News Roundup coming your way in just a minute. Do need to remind you about the folks over at Matthern's Market. We're in full swing. We are now in full swing for the holiday season. Thanksgiving is in the rearview mirror, which means the company Christmas parties are coming around, the social calendar fills up, and that's going to mean bringing something with you. Maybe a bottle of wine. Maybe you might want to go the craft beer route. Look, everybody brings a bottle of wine. What if you're bringing an IPA? That might do you right. Matthern's Market, Nicholson at Skip Burtman Drive or downtown on 3rd Street. Both locations are full-service grocery stores. Both locations can help you out. Check out Matthern's throughout the holiday season for bringing that little, maybe off-the-radar gift. Here comes CBS World News Roundup. Under the radar. God. Y'all, this is going to be a struggle for 2 more hours. Yeah. Yeah. Galen. Oh, Galen. No, Galen. Coach O leaving his team before the potential bowl goes to show you his heart wasn't in it. No, that's not it at all, man. He was shown the door. That is. You want your new guy in. You don't want Coach O taking up offices. You don't want Coach O on campus when the new guy comes in. Getting ready for the Liberty Bowl is not as important as getting the new guy in. Excuse me.
Now, your WBRZ traffic updates from Ashley Fouché.
No big crashes out there. Just monitoring an area where volume has picked up. That's going to be I-12 between O'Neill and Millerville. That westbound side is kind of showing a little bit of activity. Only 10 minutes though to protect up, so no concern. Rather be if you prefer travel on I-12 instead of Florida. Right now around the construction zone, that will be between Essen and College. We're going to your speed to take either way over 24 in a row. Overnight, this is where lane closures occur, but currently that's not a problem. That's all wrapped up. And around Essen, looking good for the
See an accident reported at WBRZ traffic on Twitter.
Report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $170 official in tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
Via Mattress.
.706 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Hour 2 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. We're going to talk with Dr. Emily Cassidy from Our Lady of the Lake this hour about lung cancer, and we're going to talk with Stephen Wagesback from LABI this hour about, all things business. Of course, we'll close out the hour with the outside in, and we're going to get you the top stories and trending in just a minute. Do need to tell you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. Black Friday savings continue. Oh, by the way, it might be Cyber Monday, but you can still shop in person over at either location of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, 4065 Florida Boulevard, or the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2. What kind of savings do you get with the Black Friday sale? Well, get yourself a name brand queen size mattress marked down from $899 to $399. Kings marked down from $1,100 down to $549. The twin gel memory foam, originally $249.99 down to $119.99. And of course, if you mention you heard about it here, you get a free pillow, you get free delivery at either location of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, 4065 Florida Boulevard, or the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2. All right. We do it. We lead off the second hour with it every single day. It's time for top stories and trending. Let's hit it.
Now, top stories and trending.
5432
On Talk 107.3 FM, the most trusted name in news. Brought to you by Complete Collision Center, with locations in Zachary and Baton Rouge. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Choose CompleteCollision.com.
absolutely everything that's happened up to now.
I mean, just absolutely horrific news. An oversized gummy bear was stolen from outside of Giggles, a children's store in Willow Grove, and the owners are asking for help getting it home. The owners of the store said Willow, the gummy bear, has been an icon of Giggles since day one. If anyone has information about the whereabouts of Giggles, the oversized gummy bear, call 663-2474. No questions asked. You don't just lose an oversized gummy bear. A man was arrested Saturday night at the LSU game after allegedly slapping a 14-year-old in one of the Tiger Stadium suites. Arrest documents said TAF employees witnessed a juvenile getting hit in the face by a man shortly before 9 p.m. The employees alerted law enforcement officers working security detail at the Level 1 suites. Officers noted that when they talked to the man, 40-year-old Brandon Scott of Houston, he was very intoxicated. Arrest documents said Scott had, quote, extremely slurred speech, altered gait, and a very strong smell of alcohol in his breath while an officer was interviewing him. The 14-year-old told officers he and his friends were trying to talk to Scott during the game. When Scott responded, he became agitated and began cursing. The victim said one of his friends, who's also a juvenile, tried to take a picture of Scott right before he slapped the victim across the face with an open hand. Scott's charged with simple battery and disturbing the peace. He posted a $2,000 bond, was released later that night. The bridge over Bob Pettit Boulevard is now closed. It runs over Bayou Fountain. It's the entrance to Tigerland, and it is closed right now. Why? Because they're putting in a whole new bridge. That's why. You've been hearing Ashley Frugier report on this throughout the traffic reports this morning. This will be a months-long construction process. The intersection of Bob Pettit and Nicholson Drive will remain completely closed. So to get into Tigerland, you got to go around the other side, the backside of Tigerland to get in. They expect this thing to be completely done by late summer of 2022. The LSU coaching search continues to baffle as top candidates Lincoln Riley and Billy Napier have both accepted new head coaching jobs that are not in Baton Rouge. Napier is now the head coach of Florida. Riley, USC. Since the LSU job became officially available, the short list of initial candidates have all signed lucrative extensions within. Mel Tucker got himself a 10-year, $95 million deal to stay at Michigan State. That was shortly followed by Dave Aranda saying he and the administration were closing in on a deal to keep him at Baylor for an extended period of time. That being said, no official reports of any official offers being made. So everything you're hearing and will hear is coming from sources. A woman turned herself into authorities nearly 2.5 hours after hitting and killing a bicyclist, then leaving the scene. Baton Rouge police said 32-year-old Kyra Whitner was driving along Greenwell Springs Road at 3:32 a.m. when she hit a bicyclist and did not stop. Whitner turned herself in at 6 a.m., telling officers she left the scene because she was nervous. Officers gave her a field sobriety test. They said she performed poorly. Whitner also took a breathalyzer test. Her blood alcohol level was 0.08%, which is over the legal limit for being impaired. Whitner told officers she was day drinking, but stopped around 5:30 p.m., almost 12 hours before the breathalyzer was administered. Whitner was booked on charges of vehicular homicide, operating a vehicle while intoxicated, and hit and run as well. Those are your top stories. Here is a look at what's trending this morning. Cool story out of the Bayou Classic. During the annual Battle of the Bands competition ahead of the Bayou Classic football game, Southern's Human Jukebox Band performed Adele's Easy on Me and was recognized on social media by the Grammy Award-winning artist. The song was released on Adele's latest album, 30, which came out only a month before the performance. So, Human Jukebox getting a shout-out from Adele. That's your top stories in trending. Going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's time for Medical Monday here on Talk 107.3. That's fine. I'm going to go see if Bo's available.
There's so many things that happen in life that are worth celebrating. Weddings, birthdays, Greek events, or just getting out of bed on a Monday morning. Well, Breadstick Social wants to help you put together whatever it is you're celebrating, whether it's big or small. There's always something to celebrate, and the holidays are right around the corner, and Breadstick Social is an awesome place for holiday parties or any corporate event. Let Breadstick Social handle the planning so you can just show up and get festive with your guests. Email your private event inquiries to events@breadsticksocial.com or visit breadsticksocial.com to get started. Breadstick Social, Government Street to South Fleet 110.
Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk.
There's Dr. Cassidy.
I talk to listeners from all walks of life about their journey to financial freedom and how they can
relatively off of a rate we're going to be levying to the money this young.
together. It's important to keep the business relevant right now because it'll really affect how you come out of this crisis. I want you to keep reaching out to your customers and your potential new customers right here on local radio. Let your community know you're open, how you're helping to keep them safe, and how your business is operating in the current conditions. Your message to your customers is key in the success of your business. Get your message on the air. And remember, stay safe, stay calm. We going to be all right.
Dave Ramsey, weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 on Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk. Brian Kilmeade.
The problem is you haven't made the effort to get down there and address these people. You send agents down there. You got the biggest agency in all of Washington, I believe, in Homeland Security. You have people that can go down there and put pressure on, economic pressure, hold back aid, remain in Mexico, back in place. The court said it. They don't do anything. Instead, they go up to Capitol Hill and say, tell me how hard they're working. Not effective, not okay.
Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk. Tackling the top stories of the day. Brian Kilmeade, weekday mornings from 10 to 1 on Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk. Where the conversation starts and continues. Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk.
Hey, it's Mark McVay, Camp and Robbins. If you ever feel like you're going crazy, you're not.
No, you're not. The rest of the world has just slipped a gear. Join us weeknights at 6 on Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk.
Now, your WBRZ traffic update from Ashley Fouché. CNI Center reported at WBRZ traffic on Twitter.
This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $170 with the purchase of 4 eligible Michelin tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
Yes, it is time for Medical Monday, and today we're talking lung cancer. And to do that, we welcome in Dr. Emily Cassidy from Our Lady of the Lake. Dr. Cassidy, welcome back to Talk 107.3. How are you?
Great. Thanks so much for having me.
No, always glad to have you on here. So let's talk a little bit about lung cancer. Let's start with this. What are some of the symptoms of lung cancer?
So, the symptoms that you would expect would be shortness of breath, chest pain, weakness all over. But really, the truth of it is that the vast majority of lung cancers present asymptomatically, meaning that we find them when a CT scan is performed for another reason or just incidentally on a chest x-ray. By and large, the majority of the ones that I see have no symptoms at all.
So if there's generally no symptoms, are they found by accident, or is this something that let me rephrase. A lot of cancers, if you've got like a family history, you should be going in. Would this same thing be true for lung cancer, or is this just something you need to be on the lookout for overall?
So, what we found is because so many of these cancers are asymptomatic or don't become symptomatic until they're very advanced, the best case scenario, obviously, is when we can find them early, at an earlier stage before they've spread anywhere. Which is also, of course, where they're most likely to not have symptoms. So what's sort of happened over the last few decades is a few things, really. Number one, screening for lung cancer has gained a lot of momentum. So similar to getting, your annual mammogram or colonoscopy or any other screening test, if you fall between the ages of 50 to 80 and are either a current smoker or a smoker who has quit within the past 15 years, and have a 20-pack year smoking history. A pack year is packs per day multiplied by years smoked. So a 20-pack year smoking history would be, on average, 20 packs a day with 1 pack a day over that time frame, or, it could be 2 packs a day over 40 years or a half a pack. There's a few different ways to sort of get to that number. But if you fall within those criteria, at no cost to the patient, they qualify for an annual low-dose screening CT scan. And it's a non-invasive test. You lay on a table, you go in and out of a scanner. It doesn't take long. And it gives us a good 3-dimensional view of what's going on inside the lung so that we can capture those early-stage lung cancers that don't have any symptoms. So that's sort of one arm of what we're doing here at Our Lady of the Lake. The other arm is, that a lot of times when we do find these lung cancers early, like you mentioned, it's incidentally coming into the emergency room for a completely unrelated reason, get a scan, and whoops, there's a small lung nodule there. So what we've done here is purchased a software that essentially hovers over all of the CT scanners in the Our Lady of the Lake medical system. And whenever there's a lung nodule that's unexpectedly identified, it routes those CT scans to our lung nodule team so that we can then notify the patient, notify the primary care provider, and get those patients in for an evaluation to make sure that we're keeping a close eye on their scans.
Dr. Emily Cassidy is our guest. So it's not just smokers. Like smokers and former smokers obviously would be the ones that would be on the lookout. But are there other groups of people, like groups-wise, are there other groups of people at risk for lung cancer?
There are. So about 80% of lung cancers are related to cigarette smoking. So, I mean, it is still the majority. But that 20%, group of patients who are non-smokers, we're seeing that number kind of go in the wrong direction, where we're seeing more and more non-smokers getting lung cancer. So we do feel like there's a genetic component that's currently being studied. There's environmental factors, which are certainly prominent here in our region. Family history has an impact. So there are certainly other risk factors, but smoking does remain the leading one.
Just from a number standpoint, wouldn't that stand to reason if fewer people are smoking then the number of the percentage of non-smokers contracting lung cancer would just naturally go up, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but we were sort of hoping that the total number would just continue to go down with fewer people smoking.
Fair enough.
We weren't really hoping that the non-smokers were going to see an uptick. But that's what's happening. And I think that there is a big genetic component that, that's kind of being looked into further at this point. And hopefully we'll get some more and better information on that moving forward.
Is lung cancer curable?
It is, particularly in the earlier stages. So we think about lung cancer, it's staged, and there's a lot of complexity that goes into the staging, but it's essentially staged from 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 stages, with 4 being the most advanced. When we can find lung cancers at their earliest stages, the cure rate is significantly higher, when we think about the survival curves. So certainly there's a real, it's not just about finding it early and getting all these scans for no reason. I mean, the real reason behind it is that if we can find lung cancers when they're at a stage 1A, it's a very curable disease. It can be removed with surgery, or it can be treated with radiation. There's typically no chemo required until we get into those more advanced stages. The reason being, once we sort of get into stages 2 and 3, then there's lymph node involvement, meaning that tumor cells have migrated from the site of the cancer to the lymph nodes. And then as you progress through to stage 4, then it's spread to other organ systems. So as you can imagine, something that's contained within the lung is obviously going to be a much easier thing to just treat with local treatments like surgery and radiation, whereas something that has spread through the bloodstream to other areas, then we need something more systemic like chemotherapy. And as that advances further, it becomes harder and harder to treat.
How far have we come in recent years when it comes to removing the cancer itself, to doing, well, I don't want to say other damage to the lung, but removal of parts of a lung? Like how precise can we be in removing cancer at a very early stage?
So we have gotten incredibly precise, I would say, particularly over the last decade or so. Historically, lung cancers were removed by making a big, long incision between the ribs. There was spreading and breaking of ribs to get into the chest, and you really had to take a large portion of the lung, to be able to safely remove a cancer, because our tools just weren't as precise. as technology has advanced, just like your iPhone has advanced, surgical technologies have advanced too. We remove the vast majority of early stage lung cancers robotically now. It's great for the patient because it means smaller incisions, less pain, easier recovery. But it's also great for the surgeon because it allows us to be so much more precise. So we're able to, through those smaller incisions, do more precise dissections, sometimes take less lung out. And all of that, it benefits the patient immensely. So we're really excited about where things are now and where they're continuing to go with regard to the smaller incisions and the precision that we're able to achieve despite those smaller incisions. It's really been a game changer.
Yeah, I've got a family member who was subject to the big rib cracking and the like, and the long, painful recovery as well.
Yeah,
still worth it, but
tough.
it's still worth it. But to see the advancements there have been just truly, truly remarkable. So if someone is,
oh yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I've been doing thoracic for 10 years, and I've seen a huge shift in terms of how patients are feeling post-operatively, how quickly they're, out of the hospital, back to work, back to normal, those big incisions, from months down the road, patients were still, recovering from that.
yeah, and it's been so rapid, the turn, that you're almost, you look at somebody just like you said, less than a decade ago, would have had to go through the hard way. It's like, oh, goodness gracious. But
yeah, it's advancing quickly, that's for sure.
Again, very, very much worth it along the way. So if someone suspects, that they or a family member has lung cancer, what should they be doing? Should they start with their primary care physician or just go ahead and reach out to an oncologist?
Yeah, I think primary care is probably a good place to start for a few reasons. The symptoms of lung cancer, when they're even present, which, like I said, is the minority of patients, but when they are present, they could also be a million other things. They're not very specific symptoms. So I think starting off with primary care makes complete sense, and getting a workup, maybe getting some blood work, maybe a chest x-ray or a CT scan. I think that's probably the best place to start. But also to keep in the back of your mind that because a lot of lung cancer is asymptomatic, if you fall into the patient population that's a candidate for screening, that getting this screening test is really a lifesaver.
Yeah, the screening test, it really is, because like with all cancers, early detection is the key. But with so many different cancers, there's roadmaps to detection as well, whether that be, self-exams for breast cancer, or if you have a family history, getting a colonoscopy on a regular basis. This one should fall right in that very same line. Let's talk treatments for just a minute, if we could. We talked about removal, but what other treatments are there available?
So other treatments include radiation treatments. Then there's the medical side of things, which is going to include obviously chemotherapy, but there's also been advances with targeted therapies and immunotherapies, which are sort of they'll send off the tissue from the cancer to try and get an exact genomic makeup of it and give a specific treatment for a specific tumor. Currently, a lot of those treatments are for our more advanced stage patients, but there is certainly more and more data coming out to suggest that there could be a benefit even for earlier stage patients if they have a genetic mutation within their cancer cells, that they can benefit from some of these treatments as well. So that's really exciting for us also on the medical side of things.
I want to kind of wrap it up by going back to the top of the page here. You talked about the percentages, smokers versus non-smokers. What about percentages geographically? Where are we at with cancer right now? Is it more prevalent here in the South or more prevalent here in Louisiana than we see in other parts of the nation?
It is. We're not number one, but we're always year after year sort of in the top 10. Currently in Louisiana, we lose around 9,000 to 9,500 patients per year of lung cancer in our state. It is still a massive problem. Lung cancer is across the country and the state. It's the number one cancer killer year after year. It takes more lives every year than breast, prostate, and colorectal combined. It's just a huge problem. And, despite that, our screening efforts have really only come about in the last decade or so, and it's been a slow thing to catch on. So despite it being the number one cancer killer, we currently screen less than 4% of the people in our state who are eligible for screening. So I think, it's a big undertaking. It's a grassroots effort, but I think that the take home is, if you or anyone falls within this age group, I mean, people just need to be educated and encouraged to go for it. I can tell you, in the last few years, just within my own family, I've started to get more and more aunts and uncles into screening programs. It's a huge population of people, and we just need to get the word out there to them.
It is a battle, too, because, I mean, I hate to put it in these terms, but you're fighting for attention with other cancers, It's like, I got to be on the lookout for this, too. She
Exactly.
is Dr. Emily Cassidy. Oh, before I let you go, where can folks go if they want to do some of that learning? Where can they go to get more information?
So our website, Our Lady of the Lake Cancer Center, has some good information. The NCCN, the American Lung Association, all of those websites, if you get online, can give you a lot more information as well. And I think talking to your primary care provider, about risk factors and screening and all of those things is important as well.
She is Dr. Emily Cassidy with Our Lady of the Lake. We always greatly, greatly appreciate the time.
Oh, thanks so much. You guys have a good day.
You do the exact same. That is Medical Monday, presented by Our Lady of the Lake. We'll be talking with Stephen Wagesback in our next segment. Hey, not enough time to open up a new topic before we get you to news at the bottom of the hour, but I do need to tell you it's time for Zoo Lights. Yep, over at Breck's Baton Rouge Zoo, you were invited out to celebrate the holidays with Zoo Lights, a festive, this is going through the zoo in the evening, obviously, it's Christmas lights. It's a mile-long trail through the zoo, featuring more than 50 illuminated display sculptures of animals and traditional holiday scenes as well. The tradition actually started on Friday. It will continue through December 30th. Will only be closed on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Admission gates open at 5:30. They will close the gates at 8 o'clock to let people in. The grounds close at 9. Zoo Lights going on right now. Oh, I'll be right back. I gotta get my water out the freezer.
Support is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $170 with the purchase of 4 eligible Michelin tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
Getting a repair done around your office or business can be easy. Let the experts at ACI Facility Support take the guesswork out of what to do. Call ACI Facility Support 383-3434.
Yeah. Okay.
One of the best things I did in 2020 was call Premier South Roofing and Sheet Metal. They did such a great job on our roof that 3 of my neighbors hired them, and 4 houses on the next block did too. Thank you, Premier South Roofing.
For your free estimate in Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and the North Shore, go to PremierSouthLA.com for premier craftsmanship.
And Premier Customer Service.
Premier South Roofing and Sheet Metal. Attorney Pete Murphy has been fighting insurance companies for over 28 years and recently won an $18.9 million verdict for a crash victim. Trust his experience. Offices in Baton Rouge. Results may vary.
If you're like most people, you're probably more than a little concerned about the state of the world around us. Strange times. The stock market all-time highs.
Good morning, Stephen. How are you?
U.S. debt never been higher.
Doing well,
Right
thanks.
now,
We're going to be live in just about a few minutes, and then we'll get you on.
inflation, the highest since 2008.
Wonderful.
Remember
Please
what
hold.
happened in 2008. So, how do you protect your money, your retirement, your savings? Well, many people, just like you, are turning to Old Faithful to protect themselves during these difficult times. And Old Faithful is real gold and silver from the Oxford Gold Group, the kind you can actually hold in your hands and have in your IRA. No better time than the present to protect your future and the future of your family. Call the Oxford Gold Group right now, 833-928-GOLD. They will send you their free guide on investing in gold and silver and answer all of your questions. Protect your money before things get even worse out there. Call the Oxford Gold Group today at 833-928-GOLD. Oxford is here to help you protect your savings and retirement. That's 833-928-GOLD.
Play your favorite casino games and sports bet for free. Visit betrivers.net. Hey there, it's Lars Larson, host of the Lars Your source for honest and provocative talk radio, weeknights 8 to 11 on Talk 107.
$7:38. Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So we had Thanksgiving, we had Black Friday, we had Small Business Saturday, giving us a bit of a recap on that and a number of other topics as well. Stephen Wagesback heads up the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Stephen, good morning. How are you, sir?
Doing great, Brian. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Before we dive in, I've got to ask, do you do the fridge full of leftovers and just keep going until you can't anymore? Or do you just throw it all out and start fresh and say no?
No, we worked the leftovers over pretty good.
Okay.
You know, I mean, so I would say for a couple of days we had a couple leftover sandwiches. We did a tenderloin at our house the night before Thanksgiving. Then we went to my wife's house, in-laws, the next day and came home with Thanksgiving leftovers. So those 2 nights combined, we went sandwiches. We went, warm up plates in the microwave. We did the whole thing.
Tenderloin the night before. I am sold.
Oh, dude, it was legit. It was good, man. That's kind of my go-to move when I have family over. You can get a couple different places in town, come home, trim it myself at home, and it was delicious. It's amazing what a little seasoning and butter can do to a piece of meat.
Yes, it can. But to be fair, though, I mean, a good piece of beef, God does most of the work there.
That's right. That's right. All you got to do is not screw it up. And look, for me, that's always the biggest challenge. But you know, hey, it turned out great, and you know, family came along. It was good to, you know, we had my son in from college. We had some other cousins in from out of town, so it was a great, you know, catch up week over Thanksgiving. Weather was perfect. Couldn't ask for anything better. And the Tigers came through and ruined A&M's night, which made it all just a great, you know, dessert of the whole great week. So it was awesome.
I mean, there's something special. I really love how the A&M rivalry is re-evolving into something just nasty. It's fun.
And dude, we kind of own them in Tiger Stadium. I mean, you know, it's really unbelievable. They've come in with better teams, worse teams. We've come in, click on all cylinders. But you know, this weekend, I mean, this was supposed to be A&M's year, and obviously this was not ours. And for us to kind of own them at the end, when we're working with such a skeleton crew on staff and on the team with all the injuries and opt-outs and everything. And if you're an A&M fan, you got to be thinking like, wait a minute, if we can't beat them in this year, when can we beat them in Tiger Stadium? And I love that. I mean, they walked out with their shoulders down, their heads low, and it was a great sight to see.
Print the cups, make the rings. I mean, it's how we do.
Baby.
Hey, so that was Saturday night, the culmination of Small Business Saturday. Do we have numbers yet?
You know, we don't have Louisiana numbers, but nationally we're starting to see some numbers come in. And, you know, it looks pretty good. I mean, you know, if you look at kind of how people went out for Small Business Saturday, you know, some of the early reports say nationally the number's about 60% up from last year, which is cool. That means people are kind of ready to get out of the house, ready to go back in the stores, which is nice. Now, you're not seeing long lines being reported here locally. If you just read some of the kind of the articles and some of the initial feedback, it wasn't like, you know, sleep out the night before type thing.
Right.
But if we show that we're 60% up on in-person, that'll be huge from last year. Now, remember, last year was the COVID year.
Right.
So if you go back to the year before, 2019, we're still about 25% down nationally compared to that year. So we're still fighting back from the pre-pandemic levels, but it looks like Small Business Saturday had more in-person traffic nationally this year compared to last year by about 60% higher, which would be a really cool thing for small businesses in Louisiana.
Absolutely, and I'm curious what the psychology behind why this year's Small Business Saturday would be higher. Is it a matter of folks are worried about inflation, that prices will only go up? Are they worried that supply chain issues, you don't want to wait till the last minute to get your Christmas presents this year? I'm curious to know what's going to end up being the deciding factors for making things strong on the front end.
Well, you know, just my theory is, you know, and we could, you know, inflation is kind of the dark cloud hanging over this entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like why people maybe showed up more, I think there's just a restlessness that society has with the pandemic shutdown over the last 2 years. And so I think being able to get back and get into your normal routines, and whether that normal routine is having a bunch of family around a table, holding hands, praying together, or whether it's going out and shopping, but just to get out away from a Zoom, get out of your pajamas, and get back into, you know, crowds and normal routines, I think is a big reason why people probably showed up more this year. And you know, everyone kind of feels that to a certain extent. And I think the holiday shoppers are no different. Last year, they all felt, you know, either through concern with COVID or guilted by society or whatever their motivation was to sit at home, get on their laptop and shop that way. I think now people say, you know what, I want to get back to my routine, and that's kind of getting some family and friends together and going out shopping. And the last thing I'd say is the weather helped a ton. It's such a beautiful area, you know, weather weekend. It's hard not to go out and move around town a little bit.
I mean, it was cool and crisp all Saturday long. We caught like a rain shower it was light, but for like 15 minutes tops. It was a wonderful day just across the board.
No, that's great. And look, the inflation thing's real, though.
I was having to circle back to that.
You know, it is a challenge. And look, you know, I think that folks are going to end up buying less. I think you're going to see less either numbers of gifts under the tree or maybe smaller items under the tree because, you know, people's, you know, buying power is shrinking. You know, inflation's up, 6.5% right now, which is almost 3 times what you normally expect on inflation. It's the highest in like 35 years inflation levels we're seeing right now, and wages have gone up some, but not to meet that level of inflation. And so you're going to see, I think, less total spending this year because it's just your buying power goes less.
Stephen Wagesback from LABI is our guest. Stephen, how does it affect things across the board? That doesn't just affect retail; it affects every business.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it affects, if you're going out to dine at a local restaurant, if you're putting gas in your car, you're inclined to put less in there. So that's going to, maybe chill out some of the road trips and all you would take as well. So, look, anytime inflation goes up across the board like it is, that definitely is going to send a chill in consumer buying power. I mean, we know that. That's kind of history has taught us that. And then in certain specific areas, you're seeing even spikes higher than that 6%. Obviously, I mentioned driving. Fuel, most people are seeing gas prices around double of what they're used to. The Biden administration said, hey, no worries. We'll put out, some SPR, some oil from the SPR. Well, I think most economists realize that that's literally a drop in the bucket. That the amount they're talking about, 50 million barrels, that's about half of the world daily consumption. And so that's not even really a rounding error for that. So, there's really no solution to bringing down those oil and gas prices except for, meeting more supply to meet the demand. And you can't shut down American energy and expect prices to come down. And so hopefully what this does is once they try the SPR and that doesn't work, hopefully then maybe they start revisiting some of their oil and gas production policies across the country, because American energy can help drive that demand down faster than anything we've seen.
Yeah, and tapping into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve right before Thanksgiving, as if it were going to have an effect on Thanksgiving.
It's a press release. Let's be honest. It's a press
100%.
release.
And we're going to have Dr. Greg Upton from LSU on next hour to talk about it, because I don't know about you, but I filled up a couple times over the weekend, and there was no relief whatsoever. So
no. And look, we all understand how oil and gas markets work.
Yeah.
And traditionally, we have been tied to whatever OPEC was in the mood to do. And if they wanted world chaos, they could just dial down production and put us in chaos. Well, over the last decade, because of hydraulic fracturing and some of the horizontal drilling and other tactics, American energy has gotten back in the game. You put that plus LNG, and we were able to battle against Saudi Arabia on that. And now, if we're putting handcuffs on our own American energy producers, we're taking away the leverage we had on that. So we're getting back to the world, kind of these Carter era level policies where we're depending on Saudi Arabia, whether they're in the mood for world chaos or not. And that's not a good spot for us to be in long term. And the SPR, trickling out a few barrels from the SPR does nothing to solve the bigger challenge there.
No, and no one's going to drop gas prices for a day along the way. Hey, got about 3 minutes left with Stephen Wagesback from Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Let's talk judicial reform. I understand there's some research released that you've got hold of.
Yeah, look, we've gone through, tough legislative session. We were talking about the constitutional amendments for a long time, and now you're going into that holiday year, and you're like, all right, I'm looking to kind of like have some downtime. What are we going to do? Well, I got an exciting reading material for everyone. It is our 4-part judicial reform package. How exciting does that sound?
Such a pain. It's like Michael Crichton wrote it himself.
I mean, seriously. I mean, you're just going to like ignore your family in the back room reading this stuff, right? Well, let me tell you, it is important because just real quick for folks to understand, we've got 3 branches of the government: executive, legislative, and judicial. That judiciary is a big piece of everything we do. More and more laws and policies are going to the court system. So we in the business community feel like we need to better understand the court system, how it works, and how we as taxpayers, the value we get out of it. And so we released a 4-part series. It's on our website at labi.org. It's our judicial reform package. And, one of the papers talks about technology and how we need to improve, access to the courts in that sense. The other is ethics, how the court polices its own ethics. The third one is budget, what we're spending, and how much transparency is there. But the fourth one is really important also, is judicial realignment. And the truth is, our judiciary has really not been realigned in years. Some of our court systems have never been realigned. And so as we're going into a redistricting session in February, and the legislature has some tough decisions to make on where they're going to redraw these lines, we want to put out some high-level data and research to not only guide them, but also guide citizens and taxpayers so they know what to ask of their elected officials. And that's all in this 4-part series. It's really informative. It shines a spotlight on where we're weak and where we can improve. And it's meant to be a tool not just for policymakers, but also for taxpayers so they know what they're buying with the judiciary.
Okay, so the realignment part of this, we're going to have to explore at a later date. We got 60 seconds to go. Got to ask you one more question. This one's about jobs. This one's about one job in particular. Who's the next head coach at LSU?
Well, let me say this. I still have big faith in Scott Woodward. I think he's going to come out and get a hire. And the way I look at it is the last 3 national titles we've been to have been Ed Orgeron and Les Miles as coach. And so I feel like there's a lot of different ways we can get to a title game. And so all we have to do is make a good, solid hire. And I think as long as we have a program that we can support, high school talent that keeps pumped out, we can win big here. So I think he'll pull a rabbit out of his hat and do something. I don't think there's any doubt we've flirted with Lincoln Riley, in my opinion. I have no source. That's just my theory.
Right.
And look, sometimes people, when you go after big game hunting, they choose other people. If you chose USC, so be it. Let's go next on the list. Let's get a stud in here, and let's get back to recruiting. I think we'll be fine.
He is Stephen Wagesback, president of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. We visit every Monday, and we always appreciate the time, sir.
All right, man. Take care. Have a good day.
You do the same. Got Your Money Now coming your way right now. Yeah. Scuzzy. That's fine. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk. Hey, Dave
Scusi, sorry. Y'all, YouTube, I apologize, y'all. This is just we probably shouldn't even have a stream going today. There's very little to offer. There's been like no bonus content whatsoever. I've been low energy all day long. I've been saving it up for the on-air segments, and I don't even know if anybody's watching. I mean, what can I do bonus content wise for YouTube today? I got Omicron, the new variant, is an anagram of moronic. How about that? The moronic variant. Yes. It's been in literally every newscast we've had this morning. I mean, get dialed in, man. I'm vomiting every break, and I'm still here.
Fair. But you're Brian Haldane.
That does not mean anything to anyone.
Well, it should to yourself, at least.
Oh, I got one for YouTube. All right. Christy and I started Ted Lasso.
Oh, my God.
Could not stop. We're 4 episodes in. I know, right? All right. During CBS News. We'll pick up the conversation during CBS News. By the way, the show never goes to break on YouTube. If you want to check us out on YouTube, it's the Mornings with Brian Haldane channel. We do stream the show every day live. Full disclosure, I've not been my normal self today. But coming back in from break right there, I think we may have sparked a discussion as my wife and I have finally gotten on board. We are finally watching Ted Lasso. Got it started last night. We're 4 episodes in. Normally we'll watch 1 episode of something and call it. For us to have A, the time, and B, the ability to stay awake. 4 episodes, that is full-on binge watching in the Haldane house. Hop on our YouTube stream. We'd love to have conversation and comments throughout the show. All right, it is time for the Outside In. Let's roll. Starting off at Ascension Parish, work begins today on one of 2 major flood control projects. The Frog Bayou Fish Bayou flood control structure. Yes, that's a real thing. Wait, I got to start over. The Frog Bayou Fish Bayou flood control structure is being built on Alligator Bayou Road. That's a real sentence in real life. It's been cut open to install water dams for flood mitigation. $2.5 million structure will have floodgates. It'll take at least a year to build. Work starts tomorrow on the other flood control project, the New River Bayou dredging. Next stop, Poincare Parish. A multiple vehicle crash on Highway 190 near Highway 976 left multiple people with serious injuries Sunday night. State police said the eastbound lanes of 190 were closed for a number of hours on into the night. No update on those injuries and how serious they remain. In Lafayette, vandals smashed the windows of multiple businesses along West Pinhook Road. New Beginnings Church, an auto body shop, and Popeyes near the oil center all received heavy damage. Pastor Larry Wilsons of New Beginnings said police are investigating after someone threw a brick through 2 church windows and fled the area overnight on Saturday night. No items were missing, no injuries were reported. Closing out in St. James Parish, the sights and sounds of the holiday season are returning to South Louisiana as families are already building the bonfires. I love the bonfires on the levee. They're being built along the levee and in the river parishes. Quote, "It is truly a family tradition for us. I've been doing it for many, many years," longtime resident George Vicnair said. Vicnair has helped his family light the way for Papa Noel since he was 13 years old. We all know last year's bonfires had to be COVID canceled, so they are back in a big, big way this year. That is the Outside In, presented by Baton Rouge Physical Therapy. Check them out online at brptlake.com. Oh. Yeah, I want Ted Lasso to be LSU's next head coach. How about that? Omicron. Byron says Omicron sounds like an evil robot that changes into different types of vehicles.
Well, it sounds straight out of Transformers.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Makes me want to pour a big bowl of Captain Crunch when I hear it, like when I was a kid.
That's a weird feeling to be induced with when hearing it.
Omicron. It's like Decepticon.
So what do you think of Ted Lasso so far?
Oh, friggin' love it.
Yeah?
It was not what I was expecting it to be goofier. It is weightier than I thought it would be.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very, very curious where a number of the storylines are going to go. Him chasing after his wife is just... There's going to be... I just know there's going to be so many layers to peel back on all of this. Obviously, the owner of the team is going to develop a soft side at some point, I think.
I'm not going to spoil it.
No, please don't.
Never.
The young star and the young star's girlfriend, that feels like a storyline that's going to play itself out, along with the, what's the guy's name? Roy?
Roy.
The older
Roy
player?
Kent.
Yeah. But where I'm curious about where they're going to take it is in the psyche of a man.
Yeah.
Ted Lasso, outwardly, super duper positive, always has the most positive spin on everything. But it was either in the first episode or the second episode when he's on the phone with his wife, and you could tell that, well, I don't know if his wife or ex-wife, I don't know if they're separated, divorced, whatever. I don't know the full details. But that break in the armor, that vulnerability of man, that idea that, was it Chris Rock? I forget which, it was a comedian who said it, but it was very, very poignant. Women and children are loved unconditionally. Men are only loved based off of what they're able to produce. And I could definitely see the beginnings of the opening up the psychology of that. I don't know if they dive into it or if Jason Sudeikis just stays goofy and fun the whole time, but the fact that they pulled back a little bit, peeled back a layer of the onion right there was amazing to me. I love seeing how there isn't another word for it. Catch you next Tuesday. The British media is.
Yeah.
And they're spot on with that.
Mm-hmm. They nailed British culture.
Yeah. Oh gosh, one of the funniest scenes. He and his assistant coach. He's like, "Want to go grab a coffee?" They're like, "Yeah," and they go literally the next building over or the next stop over. They're like, "Wow, that was fast." There's so many little under the radar zingers that are just he's spot on. I couldn't help but notice the dancing in the locker room is the exact same dance steps from What's Up With That.
Yep.
That's
I
that.
thought you'd recognize that.
Oh yeah. I'm like, put that guy in a red tracksuit. Ooh wee. Yeah.
He still kills it too. But yeah, going back to what you said earlier, again, no spoilers, but throughout the show, every character will progress as a real person would.
Yeah, I figured.
I'll just say it like that. It is, without question, my favorite show that I've recently seen. That's not like, Star Wars or Game of Thrones. As far as realism goes, that's my favorite show so far, right now. It is so well written. The acting is second to none. The characters.
The writing is
writing's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It's like everyone wrote the British characters like Englishman wrote the British characters and an American wrote Ted Lasso and Coach Beard. They blend the cultures so well.
Oh, the owner's addiction to the cookies is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I bet, like, she's like a low-key crack fiend.
Yeah.
Like, she just reaches out, steals the box, like, I don't have time for you. Like,
she wants to dislike him so bad. She's just like,
yeah.
Oh my God, these are amazing.
That was one of my favorite parts, was when you learn that he's the one that bakes them.
Mm-hmm.
Christy's like, oh, he bakes them. I'm like, I called that shot right from jump.
It just adds, like, something as subtle as, like, oh, he makes them. It adds so much to who he is as a character, as well as the dynamic and where it is and where it could go. It's a show I could gush about in any aspect forever. I could make my own podcast about that show. I could talk so much about it.
Well, it's very, very much on point. And, yeah, the writing is layered.
You say you're only 4 episodes in, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you are in for it, my friend. It is such a good show. There's not a bad episode. There isn't. Plus, it kind of educates some people on what soccer's like over in Europe.
What's happening, Casey? Wow. I still have not gotten... .806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. We're going to talk Strategic Petroleum Reserve with Dr. Greg Upton from LSU in our next segment. I wanted to dive into this, but we were backing up against the Thanksgiving holiday, and we didn't do a show on Thursday or Friday. If you were out and about traveling by car over the holiday, you didn't see any relief at the pump. I thought that was the point. But it was done in such a manner that it wasn't going to, if you'll pardon the pun, trickle down in time. But will we see any relief at the pump? Or, as Stephen Wagesback said in our last hour, this was just a press release. Sadly, I think he's right about this. It was just a press release. We will talk with Dr. Upton about this in our next segment. Also, I want comments on YouTube. Who do you want to see as the next LSU head coach? Rumors were all over the place about Lincoln Riley, why it should be Lincoln Riley. Everybody said Lincoln Riley, Lincoln Riley, Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley's now the head coach at USC. A lot of folks wanted Billy Napier. He's now the head coach at Florida. We'll dive into all that at 8:40. Hey, coming up in just a minute, Jake is going to have This Day in History. Before that, got to tell you about the folks over at Baton Rouge Physical Therapy. Told you a little bit about them in our last segment as they bring you the outside in every day because, well, you'll find them throughout the greater Baton Rouge area. You will find them in East Baton Rouge. You will find them at Ascension, and you will find them in Livingston parishes as well. Look, when we talk physical therapy, normally it's about recovering from a major injury. This is also about the nagging pain that's just keeping you from being your best you on a day-to-day basis. If you have nagging pain that's keeping you from being your best you on a day-to-day basis, get a screening. It's complimentary. Find out if there's a path to being pain-free by calling 917-9185, 917-9185. Let them sit down, talk with you, gauge your comfort level of getting to the root of your physical limitations or mobility issues. It's very much a one-on-one process, and they are here for your needs at your speed. 917-9185 or visit brptlake.com, brptlake.com. Get back to being your best you. Get back to being better than your best. Think physical therapy. Think brptlake.com. All right, it is time to go back in time. It is time for This Day in History.
We're kicking things off in 1877. U.S. inventor Thomas Edison demonstrates his hand-cranked phonograph for the first time.
Ooh, fun.
Very fun. Thrilling, riveting stuff on our Monday morning. 1910, the first U.S. patent for inventing the traffic light system is issued.
Yeah, I'm not down with that.
Yeah, it's whatever.
No, the thing is, there's so many of them. Like, I know this is a weird thing to complain about on a
Traffic
Monday.
lights? There's
Yes,
so many?
there's so many of them that just don't need to be there.
I agree.
There are so many traffic lights that could be roundabouts. There are so many traffic lights that could be stop
Just
signs.
stop signs, yeah. I don't know about you. I've lived in multiple states now. People need to handle their roundabouts better here. Some people don't know how to drive on roundabouts.
Okay, that's not even a hot take here. Like, on this show, that's not even a hot take.
Okay.
The number of idiots who don't know. If you come to a stop inside a roundabout, you deserve to get hit.
100%.
Like,
If you're entering, yield.
Correct.
If you're already in there, you have the right of way.
Yes.
It's not that
And
hard.
learn the definition of the word yield. It does not necessarily mean stop.
It doesn't, but chill. You don't have priority. Let's just move
yeah,
on. I'm going to go into a rant. We're gonna
all
go
good.
way
All
over.
good. Moving on.
I can't do this. 1934. Chicago Bears beat Detroit 19-16 in the first NFL game broadcasted nationally. 1934.
Wow. All right.
I don't know how. I mean, I'm going to sound real stupid here. Were TVs a thing in 1934? Or was it just radio or phonogram? What is it?
I don't know. I would guess radio. I'm guessing
I was
radio.
assuming radio, but I don't know. Watching is better than listening to a football game. However,
Wow. Okay. Know who's your employer?
I digress.
You work in radio, sir.
And I enjoy every
You
moment.
work in radio. Hey, watching's better than listening, so subscribe on YouTube. Jake just said so.
Hey, they're
I
seeing
spun
us-
that for you, by the way.
They're watching us right
I
now.
spun that for you. Go ahead.
1963. I Want to Hold Your Hand single released by the Beatles in the United Kingdom.
Not the only Beatles story of the day. Moving on.
No. 1971. First pro golf championship at Walt Disney World. Does that mean that this is the 50th anniversary of the Mickey Mouse jacket?
I don't know.
I like to think it is.
Okay.
1972. The co-founder of Atari, Nolan Bushnell, releases Pong, the first commercially successful video game in Andy Capp's Tavern in Sunnyvale, California.
Okay.
Pong. You ever play Pong?
Yes.
Of course you did. You're old.
Remarkably boring
1987.
game.
The New Orleans Saints win, assuring their first winning NFL season.
Yeah, Condon was talking about that earlier, and they didn't even win the division.
No.
Because San Francisco was San Francisco. The 49ers were just ridiculous.
So weird. 2010, Rolling in the Deep, the single released by Adele. It's the Song of the Year in 2011. Grammy Award for Record of the Year and Song of the Year in 2012 was released on this day.
Excellent.
Quite a day. That's all the things I have, let's say, event-wise. You got any for me that I missed out on?
No, 2 of the 3 emails that I normally get, I didn't get today. I don't know why. I don't know if they took off for the holidays or what. But
Must
yeah,
have.
I get 3 different subscription emails, and I only got 1 of them today.
Lacking.
Yeah. And the this day in history was somebody that died, so.
Well, let's get right down to the birthdays. First up, we have a pretty important one. Chadwick Boseman was born on this day in 1976. Rest in peace, a legend. I'm going to spoil the holiday. It is also Chadwick Boseman Day.
Okay.
Happy birthday to him. Russell Wilson turns 33 today.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to him. Howie Mandel, deal or no deal? Turns 66, excuse me. Anna Faris, 45 years old.
Yeah.
Don Cheadle, 57.
Love me some Don Cheadle. Love me
War
some Anna
Machine.
Ferris, too.
Of course.
She's fantastic.
She is. Stephon Diggs, don't like that guy.
Nope.
28. Brian Baumgardner, 49. If you don't know him, you know him as Kevin from The Office. He turns 49.
Oh, we were supposed to have him on a couple weeks ago, and then they
Really?
had to cancel tour. Yeah. Yeah, the big fat white guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a very nice way to put it, but yeah.
What? Come on. So, yeah, he was supposed to be on. He was doing a whole tour about, I don't know, something he had coming up. And then they had to cancel the whole thing.
What a shame.
Yep.
Rashad Bateman, current rookie Ravens wide receiver, turns 22. And finally, former New Orleans Pelicans player Julius Randle is 27.
Nice. I miss him.
Kicking butt up in NYC. 2 deaths of note to mention that I have at least. George Harrison.
Yep.
Harrison died on this day in 2001.
Like we said, the other Beatles story.
Yes. And Patrice O'Neal died on this
Aw.
day in 2011.
Are you a Patrice O'Neal fan?
I recognize him, but I'm not going to pretend like I'm the mega fan of
Dude.
his.
Brilliant comedian.
Yeah?
Miss him greatly. He's, yeah. Yes. Yeah. Go look up some of his stuff on YouTube.
Okay.
Remarkable perspective.
Let's get right down to the holidays before we conclude this segment. First up, I mentioned it before earlier. It is Chadwick Boseman Day. Again, rest in peace, a legend, and happy birthday. Secondly, we have Cyber Monday. Most everybody knew this.
Can we dispense with the Cyber Monday thing?
Why?
It's Cyber every day. Every day is Cyber Shopping Day. Cyber Monday was
discounts.
created. They're actually not there this year.
Then never mind.
Yeah, the discounts aren't there because of supply chain issues and inflation.
I feel duped.
You should. But every day is Cyber Day now. We this was created to help promote online shopping. The pandemic did more than Cyber Monday to promote online shopping, and we all do this regularly.
Well, it became from niche to necessity, just like that.
Well, yeah, and now it's just a way of life. So I would prefer to dispense with it and get straight to Giving Tuesday.
Just how our Lord's intended. Yeah. Moving on, finally, National Lemon Cream Pie Day.
A lemon cream pie is gross.
Yeah. I mean, if you take out one or two of those words at random, then it's delicious. But, that is this day in history.
All right, taking a quick break. When we come back, let's talk about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and will we see any effects? Dr. Greg Upton joins us next.
Sweet. So do you have a favorite character?
Do what?
Ted Lasso, do you have a favorite character yet?
The girlfriend. The young player's girlfriend.
Kayla?
Yeah.
Yeah. Keely. She's fun. Do you have a least favorite character?
The communications director.
Oh, Higgins?
Yeah, he's just very flat.
Flat?
Like I feel like there's the least potential for development with him, while there probably is the most potential for development. But so far, I'm not buying in on the whole yes man. It serves its purpose. I get it, but
no comment on the development. But I totally understand why you think that right now.
Yeah. I honestly, so I was disappointed when it was the paper that held up the picture. Sorry, spoiler. When it was the paper that held up the picture, not him. Because the picture of Ted with the girlfriend wiping the sandwich off her face. I honestly thought he took a stand against his boss and said, no, I can't do this to this guy. And then when you find out how it played out, then it's like, spineless worm. So hopefully he comes around.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling, I don't know. I think she's going to come around before he does. You have to call Greg.
Oh, right. I'll get on that right now.
Okay.
Good morning, Greg. This is Jake Brian, producer, joined Brian Haldane, Top 973. How are you today? Wonderful. You ready for us? Awesome. We're going to be live in just about a minute or two. We'll get you on. Awesome. Thank you. Please hold.
There we go. How much of the references that Ted Lasso makes do you get, would you say?
Most of them.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure you're going to get a lot more than I do. But some of them are pretty recent. Just a great show.
See an accident? Report it at WPRC Traffic on Twitter.
This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $170 with the purchase of 4 eligible Michelin tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
Eight 819 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP, running a little bit behind. That earliest segment ran long. Let's dive right in and talk Strategic Petroleum Reserve. The prices at the pump have not been going down. It was announced last week that President Joe Biden would be tapping into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to release 50 million barrels of oil held within the SPC. Joining us now to talk about the possible effects of that, Dr. Greg Upton from LSU's Energy Studies. Dr. Upton, good morning. Welcome back. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Brian. Doing great. I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving.
That was fantastic. I hope you did as well. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve, 50 million barrels. This is a literal and figurative drop in the bucket, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. So for a little historical context on the SPR, it was created in 1975 by Congress, and it was really meant in case there was ever a major supply disruption. So you could think about a geopolitical event that infringed our ability to import oil into the United States, or perhaps a natural disaster like we saw during Hurricane Ida. And so what made this announcement last week a little bit interesting was that there was really no supply disruption going on. What we had seen is increases in oil prices over the last 6 months or so as global demand is coming back. And so what President Biden was hoping was that by releasing this oil into the market, it would put a little downward pressure on prices. But as you mentioned, just the sheer volume of oil we're talking about, it's really unlikely that that would have a significant impact on the average consumer filling up their gas tank.
Okay, even if it would have had an impact, would it have had enough time to have an impact for the two busiest travel days of the year?
Yeah, sure. So that's a great question. So what the Biden administration was hoping was that last week they came out with this announcement, and they did it simultaneous with India, China, and South Korea. And so when you look at the amount of time it takes to actually release the oil into the market, it typically takes about 2 weeks or so. And so, the announcement last week, there was no way that that oil was actually going to come to market by the time we had this last weekend. But the hopes was that that news would lead to downward pressure on prices. But as I mentioned, if you look at the total amount of oil we're talking about, the U.S., India, China, South Korea, it comes out to about 12 hours of global oil consumption. And so just the sheer volume, I think, was more important than the timing in terms of really not having material impact on prices.
Yeah, and it's just not reasonable to think that you would see once it gets all the way through the refining process to get to the pump itself, a dip in prices for 12 hours doesn't sound like it would be worth the retailer's time to even change anything.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, so the oil comes out of the reserve.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have 4 major storage facilities here in the Gulf Coast region, 2 in Louisiana and 2 in Texas. And so what happens is when they start releasing that, and as I mentioned, it takes about 2 weeks or so for them to start releasing it. It's then sold to the refining industry here in the United States, which then processes that into gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, et cetera, which then ends up at the gas pump that you and I fill up at. So, yeah, that's exactly accurate. That actual barrel of oil, it's going to take weeks and weeks to actually end up where you and I are using it.
For a very brief period of time. Hey, why are we seeing a higher demand for oil right now?
Sure. So when you look at the global economy and you think about what happened with COVID-19, so, I remember the day that COVID hit in March of 2020. I was actually flying that day. And I get in the airplane, and by the time I land, all the announcements are out of the travel bans. LSU, where I work, says, hey, don't come into work tomorrow. My kids are taken out of, daycare and school. And so what you saw was just an immediate reduction in demand for all of these oil-based products.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened was the price just really plummeted, and companies stopped drilling for oil. And so what we've seen now is that demand has come back as we've had this economic recovery, and suppliers have still been a little bit hesitant to get out there and really start drilling for oil again. We have seen an uptick, but we're just not where we were pre-pandemic. And so what we're seeing now is that as demand's come back a little bit faster than supply, that's going to put upward pressure on prices. The good news for consumers right now is that markets are in what we call backwardation, and that's just a fancy term that means that prices in the future are anticipated to be lower than prices today. And the reason for that is as these producers come on, they drill new wells, they bring that supply to the market. It's anticipated to bring that barrel of oil back to futures markets right now are saying about $57 a barrel over the next year or two.
So demand-wise, we're not seeing anything extraordinary. We're seeing a slow return. We're actually not even to where demand should be right now. So is the problem going to be further exacerbated?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. Demand is not any way out of the norm right now, but we're just saying that it's returning from the pandemic. And so if you think about oil demand in the United States, for instance, you think of gasoline demand, for instance, that really hasn't grown in about a decade. And so where have we seen this demand growth actually isn't from the United States, but it's from Asia that's really developing really rapidly. And so when we think about oil prices today, we think about, how that impacts our regional economy. What's kind of interesting is that the place to look is actually what's happening to economic growth in Asia. And it's really been that growth that's driven all the production increases here in the United States. And so, yes, I mean, I think over the next year or so, those oil demand in Asia will exceed that pre-pandemic peak, and that will be what drives the economic activity that we have here in the Gulf Coast region.
Okay, so how much of that is influenced by policy from the White House? I mean, if we see further moratoriums, isn't this going to further hamstring us?
Yeah, so this is another really good question. So if you look back to President Biden whenever he was running for the presidency, he came out with an announcement that he was going to, quote, ban new oil and gas permitting on federal lands and waters.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever he was elected in January, he came out with this executive order that said he was going to, quote, pause new leasing. And that seems like a technical difference, but it's very important because the permitting is the permitting the current activity. Leasing is opening up new areas for exploration. And actually just on Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, the Department of the Interior released what was called their comprehensive review of oil and gas leasing practices. It was called upon by that executive order, and I haven't had a chance to read the entire thing yet as it just came out on Friday, but my skimming of it looks like they're going to continue leasing. And so kind of the good news, hopefully, is that all this talk of discontinuing offshore activity hopefully will not move forward, and that's really good news for the oil and gas industry here in the Gulf Coast region, and frankly, good news for our economy.
Is that the sole factor determining what we're paying at the pump right now, or are we seeing other contributing factors within the overall economy that are going to play out when we actually go to fill up?
Yeah, so in my mind, the two biggest factors that are going to drive prices moving forward are going to be, number one, what happens to demand growth in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about, Europe, the United States, et cetera, we've just seen incredible increases in fuel efficiency, et cetera. And so really that demand growth has to come from that developing world. And the second is going to be the efficiency of the oil and gas industry, both here in the Gulf Coast in the United States, but also in other parts of the world. And so it's really going to be kind of those two factors that come together to determine what that global price is needed in order to provide that oil. And so not that policies don't matter. They certainly do matter, especially in the long term. But when we think about, this year, next year, I think it's going to be way more economic influences that are outside of policymakers' ability to influence that are going to really be what determine that oil price.
We've got about 2 minutes left with Dr. Greg Upton. I've got to throw you kind of a curveball and ask you for a knee-jerk reaction to or ask you to respond to the knee-jerk reaction we're seeing to the Omicron variant. And you had mentioned how demand dropped through the floor because of the pandemic. Are we about to see this again?
Yeah, it's interesting. So it was funny. Just a few days after the SPR release, we saw this Omicron variant come out. We saw, I think Japan has restricted travel at this point. We've seen the United States and Europe restrict travel from South Africa. And so there's this big concern that this could, again, lead to another wave of shutdown. And so markets actually reacted to that on Friday, and we saw about a $10 decrease in the price of oil that was being traded on the market the day after Thanksgiving because of this announcement. But I actually checked the markets this morning, and we were back up to within about $5 of the pre-Omicron announcement. So
Okay.
It's really hard to sort of predict what's going to happen, but markets are tending to think right now that hopefully it's not going to persist and have that large of an impact. So
Well,
we will see.
I mean, when you look at that cross section of, yes, we're looking heavily at the growth of demand for oil in Asia versus the way different countries are reacting to different variants along the way. I mean, these things cannot be separated. You're talking about a Venn diagram that basically becomes one circle.
Absolutely.
He is Dr. Greg Upton from LSU. We always appreciate the time. From LSU Center for Energy Studies, we always appreciate the time, man.
Thanks, Brian. Anytime.
Yep, you have a good one. We got CBS News coming your way in just a little bit. We got less than 30 seconds to go before CBS News. Hey, after CBS News, let's gauge the pulse here. Where's LSU headed with the next head football coach? The number of respondents out there, or I say potential candidates out there, continues to dwindle. But does Scott Woodward already have his guy? We'll talk about it next. Oh. You know what? I know it's. They don't. They have no idea yet. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to catch up with everything else. Oh, I don't know. Well, it's not about a sport. It's about soccer. No, I don't need to get to you. I just need to learn that it doesn't matter here.
Here it doesn't.
Right, and this is where your audience is.
Fair. That's why I'm making a podcast about it. I can't plug it yet because it, as of right now, doesn't exist. But I want to make a podcast about it.
See an accident? Report it at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter.
Report is brought to you by Shaw Bills, where you can get up to $170 with the purchase of 4 eligible Michelin tires. Visit ShawBillsTire.com to learn more.
Attorney Peyton Murphy has been fighting insurance companies for over 28 years and recently won an $18.9 million verdict for a crash victim. Trust his experience. Offices in Baton Rouge. Results may vary. Brian Haldane here for St. Vincent de Paul. This holiday season, make a donation to help people in need. If you've got a boat, car, motorcycle, or RV that you no longer use, consider giving it to St. Vincent de Paul. This donation could get you a tax deduction, so go to svvpr.org to learn more.
Continue the tradition with Roca this year for the gourmet Thanksgiving feast, ready to heat and serve, or a stress-free holiday bowls cooked through 7 delicious sides and Good Company famous pecan pie. Order at RocaPizzeria.com now through November 19th for pickup on the 24th. Happy Thanksgiving from Roca.
Regular hard seltzer sounds like this, but with added antioxidant vitamin C. Fizzy hard seltzer just hits different. Fizzy hard seltzer is available now. Fizzy, step up your seltzer game. Sell responsibly. 2021 Molson Coors Beverage Company, Fort Worth, Texas. Blended beer.
You didn't hear it from me, but the Cyber Monday deals at Kohl's, amazing! I got 30% off Lego sets, 40% off jeans, and a Ninja hoodie for $119.99. I also got 20% off, and as a Kohl's Rewards member, an extra $10 off because I spent $50. I mentioned the $15 Kohl's cash for every $50 I spent. So yeah, check out my gift list.
I don't have Muya on the list. I'm going to do it here anyway.
Is it like imperative that whatever it says on the law, you stick to the script even if they do or don't say it?
What do you mean?
Well, like, for example, sometimes they'll have a live read at like 32 or 22 or...
Within the segment.
But like, do sponsors keep track of that?
Yes. Yeah, they're given a report on when their live reads air.
Hey, this is Ken Coleman from The Ken Coleman Show. You can listen to me weeknights from 11 p.m. to midnight on Talk 107.3 FM, the new flavor of talk in Baton Rouge.
Right now, though, things aren't too bad. It's still flat out competition for the points in our area. We're at Rouge, satellite and radar showing up nice and clean, and it will stay that way. Keep clear skies for the rest of the day. Early only now for a little bit of fog. Then we'll get lots of sunshine this afternoon. Temperatures will stay in the 60s today. Even some humidity in the north, so cold air will be keeping the sun in as we go through the afternoon, even though we're getting a ton of sunshine out there.
Excuse me. Jeez.
You got this, man.
22 minutes. 8:38, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. 2 segments to go here on Mornings with Brian Haldane. We're going to take a little bit closer look at, not really, I'm hesitant to talk about the LSU head coaching search for a couple of reasons. We'll dive into that in just a second. One more quick note. Thanks again to Dr. Greg Upton for hopping on board to talk about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and how little it actually means to the overall equation. I hit him with that question about the Omicron variant, which, as I learned over the weekend, Omicron is an anagram from moronic. Hit him with that question about that because it does play a big factor when you don't know how foreign markets are going to react, especially Asian markets where they are growing when it comes to oil demand. 14 countries so far have had the Omicron variant, and what we're seeing so far is the knee-jerk reaction that we've seen from every other variant. The knee-jerk reaction that didn't stop any other variant, but nonetheless, let's continue to do the same thing. You know, if at first the shutdown doesn't succeed, try again, right? We're at a point right now when it comes to supply chain issues. We're at a point right now where it comes to what's actually available in the marketplace. We're at a point right now where I don't know how car dealers are hanging on. Drive by a car lot lately? It's so weird to see empty parking lots still. And if we're going to see further shutdowns in foreign markets, if we're going to see further shutdowns in places where things are built, that's only going to get worse. All right. Let me kind of reset here for just a second. Over the weekend, we learned that Billy Napier was going to be Florida's next head coach. ULL's Billy Napier, who a lot of people really, really like. Over the weekend, I should say more to the point, yesterday, we learned that Lincoln Riley is going to be USC's next head coach. Let's talk about this in about 60 seconds. Got to tell you first about the folks over at Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. Took the family out last night, actually. We went to the Mooyah on Bluebonnet, had a fantastic time. Sat in that little corner booth, the one that like wraps around a little bit. Great service, as always. Great food, as always. One woman shouting her entire conversation across the restaurant. But outside of that, I actually deviated from my norm. I did not have a double Diablo. I had a best case scenario. Wanted my queso right there on the burger. Why? Because it was the culmination of the Thanksgiving weekend. I knew after that it's time to double down before having to report back to Ghost Flim. So I figured, you know what? Once more, I'll dive in. Best case scenario is so underrated. They give you the queso in a little cup, and you pour it on the burger so that it's not all sloppy. You get the amount of queso that you want because you're the one pouring it on the burger. Your bun's not going to fall apart because it goes queso to burger, burger to mouth, like boom. Wife and I split a sweet potato fries dipped in honey. That is such a game changer. You can't go wrong on their menu. Either location, Segan, just north of Industrialplex, or Bluebonnet at Highland Road, both locations of Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. They're going to take care of you. So LSU has not yet named their next head coach publicly. We know who it's not. We know definitively who it's not. We know that other schools have put out their welcome tos for Billy Napier at Florida and Lincoln Riley at USC. I've got to ask this question. What's your immediate reaction to LSU not having their guy the day after the Texas A&M game? Ed Ogeron hits the podium, says, I'm out, I'm done. I'm not coaching the bowl game. Brad Davis is going to take over, which that's a whole separate conversation. How he got bumped up to the top of the list. But that's neither here nor there. We all expected as Tiger fans to learn the very next morning. But we didn't, and it's all speculation. What people are speculating right now is that the whole thing got bungled or that Lincoln Riley played us. There's a big part of me that doesn't think that's the case. We're not used to Scott Woodward's methods just yet on a hire of this level. But I'm hard-pressed to believe that he wasn't, if not ready for this, a step ahead of it. Like, at what point did anybody within the administration say, this is who we're targeting? This is who we're going after, and this is who we're going to get. And here's our plan B, C, and D. We've heard nothing on that front. We know what sports writers think. We know what sports talk radio hosts think. We know what the internet has to say. But at any point in this entire discussion, have you heard anything official or quoting somebody from an official source? Official. Not I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a booster. Not I know a guy who cuts a big check to Taft. None of that. I'm talking about somebody who's actually either doing the hiring, making the arrangements, setting things up to get people in and out of town. As a Tiger fan, does it matter to you that you're starting off your Monday not knowing who the head coach is? As a Tiger fan, does it matter to you that we're going to go 24 to 48 more hours before learning who the next head coach is? Because I got to tell you, like, today is going to be so much fun just to listen to all the conversation, to listen to all the speculation, to listen to all the, I know a guy who knows a guy who cuts a check. I know a guy, I know somebody that works in the admissions office at Dunham School. That was a fun one. Oh, but side note, if you didn't hear that rumor, apparently someone named Aranda is going to be going to the Dunham School starting in the spring. Fun rumors like that. This is the day that's so much fun because everybody's on a website called FlightAware, where you're just tracking what jet comes from where and lands in Baton Rouge. This is going to be fun because everybody is 100% certain, or at least trying to sell us all on their certainty of who's going to be the next person. And maybe this says something about me as a fan. I don't care. The next person is going to serve us well until he doesn't. Think about it. The last 3 head coaches at LSU have brought home titles. The last 3 have brought home titles. One of them has brought home a lot more to Alabama than he has to here, but that's a whole different story. Nick Saban, Les Miles, Ed Ogeron, all bringing home the hardware. I have no doubt that we're going to be just fine. And I don't care how it plays out to, well, Woodward didn't get his number 1. You don't know that. You know why you don't know that? You haven't heard it from Scott Woodward. Well, I mean, you know, we missed the boat on Lincoln Red. My favorite is you missed the boat on Billy Napier. Oh, did we now? A guy who put up really good numbers. Second best numbers in the Fun Belt for 2 straight years. Can't beat Coastal Carolina. But, you know, we missed the boat on him. Speaking of which, why is the coach of Coastal Carolina not part of this discussion? That's another question to ask at some point. Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, it's going to play out. Wait, there was a couple notes. I did want to get to this. I was not listening to 104.5 last night, our sister station, but I did see on Scott McKay had this one. He had on the Hayride. He had an addendum to his 10 takeaways from the LSU coaching search. And he says at the end, I got to scroll the whole way through this. Get rid of your pop-up ads, Scott. Way too many pop-up ads. It's 2021, man. Come on, tighten up. All right. Update. Sunday night on the Hold the Rope radio show with Dan Kenvary and Skip Bourbon, former LSU running back and current TAF officer Justin Vincent said that Woodward has an agreement in place with the coach. News will break and an announcement will be made by Tuesday or Wednesday, and the fans will be delighted. We're all shuffling around following the path that we think we know because that's the tenor of the conversation. But the only person who's doing any of this hasn't been in the conversation at all. Feel free to post up on our YouTube page. Follow Mornings with Brian Haldane on YouTube. Feel free to post up on our YouTube page who you think it's going to be, who you're 100% certain it's going to be. Feel free to post up who you know a guy who knows a guy. And this is why it's going to be XYZ. This is why it's going to be Dave Aranda. This is why we're about to pull a rope-a-dope on USC, and he's going to come here anyway. Your comments are more than welcome. Eric says, Chip Kelly, the one coach not mentioned in anything. I'd be down with that. He'd win here. You know why? Because Ed Ogeron won here and Les Miles won here. Galen says, we were never going to hire Billy Napier. I couldn't agree with that more. You don't turn to your little brother to pick up your fights for you. And that's exactly what LSU would be doing if they'd hired Napier. I love the Dave Aranda talk. He would be so much fun. I love the Mark Stoops talk. He would be fun. There's so many different options out there, and there's a path for all of them to serve LSU well. So, chill. Let it play out. Just let it happen. This can be a day, this could be 24 to 48 hours where you don't have to have the hottest of takes because most of us are going to be wrong. Hell, most of us already were wrong. Just let it play out. This is the thing. What we've seen so far in Scott Woodward's time at LSU is that he has delivered two names, one in baseball, one in women's basketball, that we've walked away from saying, yeah, I feel good about that. Now, unfortunately, neither one has had a chance to look at the women's team. They're already excelling, not in conference play yet, but already performing better than we would have thought. But that being said, I'm already full of confidence because of his track record here. Forget his track record at Texas A&M or at Washington. What he's done here, he is so far 2 for 2. I'm confident when a man who's 2 for 2 steps into the box for his third at bat. All right, we got to take a quick break. We're going to check your money now. We're going to check traffic one more time. Then we've got one more segment to go here on Talk 107.3. Yeah.
The segments like that where you're just talking sports and it's just you.
Yeah.
Like, do you still want me to just let you do your thing?
Let me do my thing because I'm going like 8 different directions. It would, yeah.
When I was shadowing, like Taylor would usually keep to himself, but like sometimes Chuck would be like the second star. And now that I've done Jay to Cody, I now see why he does
Okay,
that.
Jay shows completely different. It's so yeah, it's if there's something you have a particular level of expertise or a particular strong take with something to back it up, then yeah, hop in. But for the most part, I map things out to where I know where I'm going before I go to bed the night before. So, and yeah, the whole point of that last segment in particular was you don't know. None of us know. Not you don't know, but none of us know. So let's all just chill the bleep out.
When you mean something to back it up, like what example would you use for this? Would you have, like, what do you mean like have something to back it up? Like factual evidence, statistics, or just a detailed take with examples?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to give you an example of what I'd be looking for on something like that, but it just more than just, well, my gut or I read on Tiger droppings. More than that. Galen says Stoops brings success at a recruitment challenge SEC school. He absolutely does. Oh, he also made me money on Saturday, by the way. Why was Louisville favored against Kentucky on Saturday? What was the final score to that? Like 51-3? I mean, Kentucky just poleaxed Louisville. Aranda brings success at a recruitment challenge for Texas Academic School. Yeah. Yeah. Aranda has lit Waco on fire like nobody since the ATF in the early 90s. I'll use that joke one more time. I will use that joke one more time. He's gotten more followers than David Koresh. Although, you know what? He can move back to Baton Rouge and have Chip and Joanna come here to decorate his new home. They're from Waco as well.
I was about to say you're 3 for 3.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Both
Scott
would be good
Woodward
choices. I vote Aranda because of LSU history. I like Aranda a lot, and the turnaround has just been phenomenal. The part about Aranda that I think is hesitant is the back and forth with the LSU fan base. Like, as a coordinator, he never had to be out in front. As a coordinator, he talked to the media at SEC Media Days, and then Bowl Week, I believe. Those were the only two. But I'd like him for sure. Baylor.
it's tough for big decisions like this because from a fan's perspective, you got to be able to separate your head and your heart. Sometimes they are in the same place for good reason, but sometimes you got to identify, like, wait a sec. This case, I don't know if that is, like I'm saying, but yeah, that's just a thing with sports in general.
One more segment.
Louisiana Bayou Bistro is cooking with love. Delicious Cajun goodness for lunch, dinner, or family combo to-go meals with limited dine-in or curbside pickup. Call 225-749-6354.
Now, your WBRZ traffic updates from Ashley Rouge.
Heads up if you typically travel southbound on I-110 between Chippewa and North 22nd Street. There are some delays in the area. This is the southbound side. If you look up ahead, you can see police lights and an arrow here from DOT telling drivers to get out of the left lane. So, again, backups between Chippewa and North 22nd Street. All lanes are open at Sherwood after an earlier issue here. Drive time still about a half hour between 10:12.
See an accident? Report it at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter.
This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $170 with the purchase of 4 eligible Michelin tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
One segment to go here on Mornings with Brian Haldane before we get out. Hey, coming up at 10:30 this morning, file this one under I really can't believe adults have to be told this. Coming up at 10:30 this morning, Mayor President Sharon Weston Broom and the East Baton Rouge Parish Housing Authority Chief Executive Officer Jay Daniels will announce a partnership to educate residents on ways to help improve the local environment and sustain the East Baton Rouge Parish wastewater system. City Parish Department of Environmental Services will distribute more than 1,000 funnels and can the grease lids to housing authority communities and residents, among other resources. The can the grease lids fit on any common soup can where users can discard grease, offering a visible reminder to not discard cooking oil or grease down the sink. Did we need to be told this? Do we have to be given something? Like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I have this like super wealth of knowledge because of things that feel like they should be so simple. Weren't we all taught not to pour grease down the drain? Weren't we all taught to just not? So yeah, it's liquid when you pull it off the stovetop, and it's even going to be liquid if you put it in hot water. But eventually, it's going to congeal. Eventually, it's going to solidify and clog things up. What do they call that when it clogs? A fatberg. It forms a fatberg somewhere in the, like an iceberg, but out of fat. Also, maybe stop eating grease. You know what doesn't have grease to pour down the drain? The meals you get from Go Slim Nutrition, GEAUX, SlimBR.com. The Jumpstart plan is still available right now. We all sat down to Thanksgiving dinner. We all probably ate too much. We can all get on the right path to making better decisions when it comes to our diet, when it comes to our lifestyle, with Go Slim Nutrition. They're on Blue Bonnet at Perkins Road. They're right next door to Rouse's. 763-9600 is the phone number, 763-9600. Yes, it is predominantly a protein-based diet, but really it's more about the accountability than it is the food. The food's fantastic, don't get me wrong. But I can tell you this. It's about sitting down every single week, going over there and saying, yeah, I overdid it with the pecan pie on Thursday, and then I went and had Mooyah on Sunday. Oh, yeah? What do you got coming up this week? Christmas parties. Oh, yeah? How we walk through that? You manage your lifestyles, or you manage your program through your lifestyle, not the other way around. And it's not some crash diet. You work your way to a healthier you. That is going to just about do it for us. So the mayor's going to be doing that thing at 10:30 to give away funnels. Also at 10:30, I understand President Joe Biden will have remarks on Omicron, the Omicron variant, which is in 14 countries, but not this one so far. I'm sure Brian Kilmeade will have a lot more on that when he takes to the airwaves an hour after this show is over. Of course, we'll hit you with the Fox News rundown next. Then the Brian Kilmeade show, then Dave Ramsey, then Jay Ducote drives you home this afternoon. I'll be back at it tomorrow. We'll have Adam Knapp from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. And tomorrow is Giving Tuesday. Full hour with 225 Gibbs in the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. That plus a few more surprises are on the way. We'll see you we'll see you tomorrow. All right, I got to go, YouTube. We got Monday morning meetings, so later.